Strange. What kind of person would build a temple hall in this place? This is a forbidden land. So would there really be a person who lives here for long periods of times? Or perhaps it is just a temporary place for resting. But didn't the elders from various schools not permit anyone from going too deep into the Valley of 100 Bends? This is already quite deep, so normally there shouldn't be anyone here. As he looked at the fine-built temple hall on the far mountain peak, Chu Feng endlessly guessed. Finally, to satisfy his curiosity in his heart, he concealed himself in the clouds and extended his spirit power to the extreme as he carefully went forward, and he wanted to investigate it to the end. But before even going near the mountain peak, Chu Feng's pupils largened and shock emerged onto his face of curiosity in an instant. What a powerful hidden spirit formation. The power of this spirit formation is far above my gray-colored spirit formation. Chu Feng discovered a hidden spirit formation that was outside of the mountain peak. It was a spirit formation mechanism. After touching it, no harm would be done, but it would attract the attention of the person who laid it. That meant something. The master in this place was most likely a world spiritist. And the most important part was that, from the feeling from the spirit formation, the owner of that spirit formation was far above him in terms of power, which meant the world spiritist who laid that spirit formation was very possibly not a simple gray cloak world spiritist, but it's a blue-colored spirit formation. The master here is undoubtedly a blue cloak world spiritist. Eggy spoke the answer for Chu Feng. Blue cloak world spiritist. Why is such a character here? Chu Feng was endlessly shocked. In the Azure province, the strongest world spiritists were gray cloak world spiritists, and there were only two. So why did a blue cloak world spiritist appear in that place? That was too shocking. How strong were blue cloak world spiritists? They were huge characters who were even rare within the world spirit guild. Chu Feng, quickly leave. You cannot offend the master here. Quick, retreat. Eggy's voice became more tense. Chu Feng did not hesitate after hearing that. He turned around and quickly left. After listening to Eggy's explanation, only then did Chu Feng know why Eggy was so nervous. It was because the strength of a blue cloak world spiritist completely exceeded his expectations. A blue cloak world spiritist, putting their spirit power aside first, the various spirit formation methods that they grasped completely surpassed gray cloak world spiritists. In terms of martial cultivation, there were strict requirements as well. According to what Eggy said, the power of blue-colored spirit formation required one to be at least in the heaven realm in order to gain it, which also meant that not only did a blue cloak world spiritist live in that temple hall, he was also simultaneously a heaven realm expert. The heaven realm, that was the highest realm in the continent of the 9 provinces. Why did a character such as him appear in the Azure province's Valley of 100 Bends? Chu Feng could not understand, but he did know something. There was an expert in the Valley of 100 Bends, and that expert was not someone Chu Feng could offend, because he truly could not bear the consequences, even if he was invincible in front of people under the heaven realm, as he was able to escape with the superb martial skill, the Imperial Sky technique. In front of heaven realm experts, he did not even have the chance to escape. After distancing himself from the mountain peak, Chu Feng did not use the Imperial Sky technique anymore. After all, there were limited clouds in the sky, and he could not always rely on the clouds to conceal himself. If he was discovered by someone, a huge uproar would be unavoidable. Besides, there were countless spiritual medicines and origin medicines, and there were even profound medicines. Although Chu Feng could not finish Gong Luyun off since he came, he couldn't leave empty-handedly, right? There was a deadline for the heroic hunt, 18 days. The 18 days did not start when they entered deeper into the Valley of 100 Bends. It started on the day that the Valley of 100 Bends was opened. So to be more precise, they only had 15 days. Chu Feng was going to openly slaughter in the 15 days. He also wanted to experience how ample the resources in the Valley of 100 Bends were. Also, normally, There were many monstrous beasts within the Valley of 100 Bends, so Chu Feng did not mind exchanging some blows with the legendary monstrous beasts. Asterisk swoosh 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 asterisk. In a deep valley within the Valley of 100 Bends, there was an area that was covered by trees. However, the branches and leaves were quite lush, and there were even vines everywhere. They covered the sky and covered the sun, and it was extremely hard to walk. However, a person was not affected at all in such an area. Like an agile monkey, he used the tree branches and tree vines to jump here and there in the air. His speed was extremely quick, and sometimes one could only see his silhouette but not his appearance. Naturally, that person was Chu Feng. 10 days had passed from the beginning of the heroic hunt, and with the methods of a gray cloak world spiritist, Chu Feng was like a fish in water when he was in the Valley of 100 Bends, and his harvests were great. In these days, if he was thirsty, he would drink spring water. If he was hungry, he would roast some meat and eat it. He did not care about spiritual medicines, and only origin medicines would stop him. Within 10 days, he even stamped over and killed dozens of profound medicines which were like treasures. Although they were only low-quality profound medicine and medium-quality profound medicine, normal people could still not pick them. After all, those profound medicines already had spiritual nature, and the difficulty in catching them was extremely high. Only Chu Feng, a gray cloak world spiritist, could catch them so easily. As long as he found them, he would get them. There would be no fish that could escape his net. One high-quality profound medicine, one monstrous beast at the 9th level of the origin realm, and one human at the 1st level of the profound realm. It seems like someone attacked first. As Chu Feng dashed through the forest, he muttered in a low voice. He was currently chasing after a high-quality profound medicine. However, with his sharp spirit power, Chu Feng could feel that there wasn't only a high-quality profound medicine. There was also a monstrous beast as well as a human. Asterisk ta asterisk. After going past several trees, finally, Chu Feng landed on a thick and big dry tree. Chu Feng could see everything as he looked down from above. Dozens of meters away from him, a frightening big battle was happening. Countless thick trees were cut into half and blood covered the entire area. Nothing seemed the same before the battle, and it seemed like an area of a disaster. The young male was a powerful person at the 1st level of the profound realm. As for the huge bear monstrous beast and the treevine monster, they were only at the 9th level of the origin realm. However, as they worked together, the young male got forced more and more back, and he was going to fall at any moment. That's the original body of a high-quality profound medicine, quite strong. It's cooperating with the monstrous beast to attack humans together, and the combined battle power of the two is comparable to the 1st level of the profound realm. No wonder that pockmarked male is unable to beat them. Fragments were like a rainstorm as they flew all around Chu Feng. However, they were unable to harm him in the slightest. He was observing everything and waiting for the pockmarked male to request for assistance, because he had to take that high-quality profound medicine. Since that high-quality profound medicine was first discovered by the pockmarked male, and unless the male took the initiative to give it up, if Chu Feng helped him take care of the monstrous beast and the profound medicine, the pockmarked male might not be willing to give the profound medicine over to Chu Feng, and obviously, some disputes would happen. After experiencing all sorts of events, Chu Feng started to restrain his temper. He did not want to easily create enemies. What he needed were friends. "Senior, please help me out." Indeed, after the pockmarked male discovered Chu Feng, he quickly asked for assistance. In order to increase his efficiency, Chu Feng kept on borrowing Egge's power after entering the Valley of 100 Bends. However, to avoid any unnecessary troubles, he still disguised himself. He wore a cloth-long robe and wore a conical hat that was made out of grass to conceal his own appearance. A disguise like that was not rare in the Valley of 100 Bends, but because the pockmarked male could not see Chu Feng's appearance nor could he determine Chu Feng's age, yet he wanted Chu Feng to help him, he called Chu Feng a senior. "What about the high-quality profound medicine after I help you?" Chu Feng changed his voice into a young adult's and directly spoke his goal. As long as you help me solve the danger in front of right now, the high-quality profound medicine and the monstrous beast are yours. The pockmarked male howled. Great. Only after that did Chu Feng leap into the air, and like a sharp sword, he stabbed himself into the battle circle of the three. Ignorant humans, all of you will die. At the same time that Chu Feng landed on the ground, the huge bear monstrous beast pounced towards Chu Feng. Indeed, the monstrous beast had spiritual nature, and he could speak the human language. However, its voice was still full of a wild beast's aura. It was also as if he had boundless strength. When his claw came down, it brought the power of 300,000 caddies along with it. HMPH. However, Chu Feng only coldly snorted at the monstrous beast's sudden attack. Not only did he not dodge or avoid it, he even formed a fist with one hand and threw it towards the huge claw of the monstrous beast. That scene completely terrified the pockmarked male. After all, Chu Feng's aura showed that he was only at the first level of the profound realm, being the same as him. In terms of body figure, he was even skinnier than himself. So Chu Feng's current actions was like a mantis trying to block a chariot, and he was only searching for his own road of death. However, in the next instant he was stupefied. Boom when Chu Feng's fist and the huge paw of the monstrous beast collided. Instantly, a huge boom sounded out. Although Chu Feng's fist wasn't big, the energy it contained was huge. A ripple of energy exploded out, and the monstrous beast instantly wailed out, then quickly retreated. Its rough skin and thick flesh, which were like iron, were split open everywhere with blood flowing out, and it revealed the eerie white bones. Heavens, is this still the fist of a human? At that very instant, the pockmarked male was already dumbstruck, and he stared blankly at Chu Feng's fist with disbelief all over his face. He did exchange some blows with the huge bear monstrous beast. Before so, he deeply knew the strength of the huge bear monstrous beast's physical body. However, with his own body, Chu Feng destroyed the paw of the monstrous beast, so he found it quite hard to accept that. Whoosh 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 as the pockmarked male was distracted, the high-quality profound medicine already leaped into the air. The vines all over it became sharp blades that filled the sky. With lightning-fast speed, they shot towards the pockmarked male. Crap! When the pockmarked male reacted to that, it was too late. The vines that filled the sky would stab into his body in the next instant. He could not avoid even if he wanted to, and he couldn't escape from it even he wanted to. He lost his chance. Swoosh but just as the pockmarked male felt that he was going to undoubtedly die, like a ghost, Chu Feng appeared in front of him. Chu Feng was holding a huge, golden-colored blade in both of his hands. As his arms waved in the air, the golden blade instantly became several glares of golden light. The half-moon golden light kept on appearing in front of his eyes, and when the golden light disappeared, the scary vines were cut into half. The most astonishing thing was that the head of the profound medicine was also chopped off by Chu Feng at an unknown time. The profound medicine which was beheaded instantly miserably wailed. Its body was like it was shedding skin as it layers by layers fell. At the end, only a human-shaped plant that was the size of a palm appeared. That plant was a high-quality profound medicine, the human-shaped grass. Just at that time, frantic stepping sounds resounded out, and the heavily injured huge bear monstrous beast escaped with its tail between its legs. Although it seemed quite heavy, its speed was not slow. Almost with a blink, it disappeared from Chu Feng's and the other person's line of sight. At that instant, the pockmarked male even thought that the huge bear monstrous beast successfully escaped. As he prepared to shake his head and sigh, he saw Chu Feng throw his golden blade out. At first, the pockmarked male did not understand why Chu Feng would do that. But when he heard the painful cry that came from the monstrous beast deep in the forest, he finally knew how strong Chu Feng really was. Chu Feng picked up the human-shaped grass and threw it into his cosmos sack. Normally, he would not even store it and he would have just refined it directly. But since he was in front of someone else, he needed to hold himself back. Brother, you have quite good skill even though we are both at the first level of the profound realm. I, Wu Yuanhua, truly admire you to the point that I would kowtow myself. Just at that time, the pockmarked male walked over with a face full of deep respect, and he couldn't help but cup his hands towards Chu Feng in admiration. Chu Feng already expected the male's actions, so he didn't pay much attention to it. He only lightly smiled and prepared to continue on. Brother, I wonder what your great name is. However, the pockmarked male went in front of Chu Feng to stop him, and with a solemn face he asked, I am Asura. Chu Feng randomly said a name. Asura, what a strange name. The pockmarked male seemed to contemplate and felt that the name was very special. Chu Feng ignored the pockmarked male's reactions and went past him to continue forward. However, before even walking for a few steps, the pockmarked male caught up. He spread open his arms and stopped Chu Feng once again. As he faced the pockmarked male's persistency, Chu Feng tightly frowned and said a bit displeasedly, Yes, I just want to invite Brother Asura to go along with me. The pockmarked male chuckled and said, his attitude was very sincere. Sorry, I'm busy. Chu Feng coldly snorted. He did not want that trash as a burden. Ah, Brother Asura, we know a place that contains a large number of high-quality profound medicine. Seeing that, the pockmarked male quickly explained, Is that true? After hearing that there was a large number of high-quality profound medicines, Chu Feng couldn't help but be interested. Not half a word of lie. But Brother Asura, before going, I must let you know that the resources in the Valley of 100 Bends exist together with danger. The place that has a large number of profound medicine also has a group of tyrannical monstrous beasts as guards. The disciples from the Lingyun School has already attacked many times, but they left in defeat and they had heavy losses. However, I heard that the #1 disciple in the Lingyun School, Dugu Oyun, has already headed towards that place. All the powerful people in the Lingyun School all gathered at that place, and the Lingyun School also requested for help towards the other powers. They invited disciples from various other schools to work together to attack that monstrous beast castle. And I want to invite you, Brother Asura, to go together and share the profits. What you think about it? The pockmarked male seriously said, and within his gaze, there was even a bit of pleading. After hearing those words, Chu Feng's heart was already moved. If the disciples of the Lingyun School could not get any results after attacking it many times, it meant that the place was dangerous. But that also meant that there were Huga resources. So, Chu Feng did not hesitate and he firmly said, Lead the way. The Valley of 100 Bends was a magical land. Mountains, creeks, rivers, valleys, plains, everything that should be there was there. The beautiful scenery was like a saint's realm. That area could simply be said to be a separate world. There were spiritual medicines, origin medicines, profound medicines, wild beasts, fierce beasts, and monstrous beasts. Being at the top of the food chain, monstrous beasts were the kings in that area. They ruled that place, and even monstrous beasts needed to cultivation. So, they also needed origin medicines and profound medicines. In order for origin medicines and profound medicines to display the effects that they should have, after the monstrous beasts found the medicines, they would not immediately hunt them. They would force it to a special place, seal them, and wait for them to grow before using them. However, every year, there would be a period of time where humans intruded that land. The intrusion of the humans destroyed everything there. They broke the rules there, so to monstrous beasts, humans were the invaders and they were the guardians. At that moment, in a certain location in the Valley of 100 Bends, there was a fortress just like that. Profound medicine filled the fortress, and those outside could feel the strong, profound power as well as the fragrance of the medicines. It was undoubtedly a huge treasure trove. However, the treasures were not able to be taken so easily because several hundred monstrous beasts were densely gathered outside. Every single one of them was in the profound realm, and their cultivations were high. There were some at the first level of the profound realm, as well as some at the sixth level of the profound realm. One human-shaped monstrous beast, which was 3 meters tall, even had the cultivation of the seventh level of the profound realm. The muscles all over its body were like armor. It had a big, sharp hammer in his hand, and it was currently sitting on a chair made out of human bones as it yawned. Around that monstrous beast were monstrous beasts who were still in their monstrous beast shape, and they were quite lively, as if celebrating, as they defeated the humans again and again. Damn it, I really want to immediately go slaughter that group of beasts. Wait, Senior Dugu and Senior Fenghao will quickly come. After they come, we can exterminate these monstrous beasts that ought to die all at once. We will avenge the seniors and juniors who died. Several thousand meters away from the fortress, within a lush forest, several hundred disciples were gathered there. Most of them were disciples from the Lingyun school, but there were also many disciples from other schools, and they were preparing for the final attack on the fortress. Look, Senior Fenghao has arrived. Suddenly, a group of people appeared. They were from the Lingyun school, and the one who led was a white-faced, prideful male. After that male appeared, instantly, a huge disturbance was aroused, not to mention the disciples from the Lingyun school. Even the disciples from other schools concentrated their gazes on that male's body. Some female disciples even revealed expressions of adoration. That male was called Fenghao, and he was the number 2 disciple in the Lingyun school. Although he was only second, his talent and cultivation was far from being comparable by disciples from other schools. He was an expert in the 6th level of the profound realm, and it could be said that he was one of the best within the young generation in the Azure province. Young lady, I wonder if we can join you guys to work together to defeat those group of monstrous beasts. At that instant, Chu Feng and the pockmarked male already arrived. However, it wasn't simple to be able to join the group of people who were going to fight against the monstrous beasts. In fact, currently, the strength of Chu Feng and the pockmarked male was being assessed by the female disciple from the Lingyun school. She was seeing if they had the qualifications to share the profound medicine in the fortress. But it was useless, as after Fenghao appeared, the gaze of that female disciple from the Lingyun school was attracted towards Fenghao, and she did not pay attention to Chu Feng and the pockmarked male anymore. However, that could not be blamed on that female disciple, because when compared to Fenghao's girl-like face, the pockmarked male's face was too ugly. No females would be willing to look at him. Look over there, Senior Dugu has come, the number 1 disciple from the Lingyun school. Just at that time, another person yelled in surprise, and the words caused everyone's gaze on scene to be shifted from Fenghao to the other side. On that side, another group of disciples from the Lingyun school appeared. The quality of those disciples were much stronger than Fenghao's group, especially the one who led, with a pair of dense eyebrows which were like sharp swords and a resolute face like a blade. That male was a lot more handsome and martial-like. When compared to Fenghao's female-like prettiness, that male was filled with manly charm. He was the number 1 disciple in the Lingyun school, and he was an expert at the 8th level of the profound realm. Not only was he the number 1 disciple in the Lingyun school, he was even named as the number 1 person in the Azure province's young generation. Closely following was his young brother, Dugu Xiangyu. Dugu Xiangyu's cultivation was not weak, as well as he had the cultivation of the 5th level of the profound realm. He had quite the handsome appearance as well, but as his elder brother was under a halo, obviously, he was not that eye-grabbing. Wah, the number 1 disciple from my Lingyun school, is too charming. That's a real man. The female disciple from the Lingyun school who had incomparable adoration towards Fenghao earlier only had S-figure within her eyes. Oi, lady, I want to join you guys to fight together against the monstrous beasts. Look at us. Can we? Just at that time, the pockmarked male untactfully patted the female disciple's shoulder. Shoo, don't pass. Both of you don't pass. Leave right now. The pockmarked male who disturbed the female's heart of appreciation got a burst of angry cursing from her. Junior, what's wrong? Her yell naturally attracted the attention of the Lingyun school disciples. In an instant, the large group of Lingyun school disciples aggressively surrounded and concentrated their fierce gazes onto the bodies of the pockmarked male, as well as Chu Feng. As he faced that scene, the pockmarked male was terrified. He could not even speak because he did not even know how to explain. They wanted to join us to fight against the monstrous beasts, but because their strength was too low, I wanted them to leave. However, they kept on nagging me. The female disciple said with grievance. What? Something like that happened. After hearing those words, the normally domineering Lingyun school disciples were instantly enraged, and their gazes could eat Chu Feng and the pockmarked male. Whatever fighting against the monstrous beasts is more important right now, let them go. One disciple went out to advise. HMPH, you two are lucky. Shu, seeing that, the disciple from the Lingyun school started drive them away. As he faced that situation, both of Chu Feng's fists tightly clenched, and the flames of fury burned in his heart. But he endured because he felt a pair of sharp eyes staring at him, and the owner of those eyes was extremely strong. So Chu Feng could only gloomily leave along with the pockmarked male, as they were mocked by the crowd. Brother, what are you looking at? Dugu Xianyu curiously asked. Nothing. Faintly smiled and retracted the gaze that was aimed towards Chu Feng. A short while after Dugu Oyun appeared, he organized the disciples and started to attack the monstrous beast's fortress. This time, the monstrous beasts, who were quite lively before, clearly felt the pressure. As they faced the human army led by Dugu Oyun, they already lost their absolute superiority. Even the monstrous beast commander, who held the huge hammer, was held down by Dugu Oyun. Although monstrous beasts had a natural advantage from their physical bodies, and they were usually stronger than humans in the same realm in terms of battle power, when they faced a peak genius like Dugu Oyun, their advantage already disappeared. In front of absolute aptitude, the advantage was taken away by the humans. The monstrous beast commander, who became half-human, tightly frowned and endlessly roared. He was being continuously forced back by the #1 disciple in the Lingyun school, Dugu Oyun, and he completely lost his precious grandeur of a king. Ah, damn it, that damn woman. Within a distant forest, the pockmarked male sat on a big tree as he looked at the direction of the fortress, while smoke kept on rolling up and he unceasingly muttered. Brother Asura, with your strength, if you could have entered, you would have certainly gotten your share. After sighing, he cast his gaze next to him, but he discovered that it was completely empty and Chu Feng's traces were gone. Brother Asura, Brother Asura. That made the pockmarked male panic. Clearly, the person who was just there randomly disappeared. As he panicked, he started to look everywhere for Chu Feng's traces. However, no matter what, he never would have thought that the current Chu Feng already rose into the air. With the Imperial Sky technique, Chu Feng looked down from above, and the fortress was clearly observed by him. Although the defense around the fortress was very good, in order for the profound medicines be bathed in sunlight for better growth, it was not completely sealed. Using the smoke that rose from the great battle, Chu Feng could conceal himself as he descended from above. As the battle outside was a mess, he stepped into the fortress first, and he wanted to grab all the profound medicines that were there. Wow, this time I will earn big. After entering the fortress, Chu Feng's excited heart was almost going to jump out. Within the dense grasses, there were dense lights flickering non-stop. Low-quality profound medicine, medium-quality profound medicine, high-quality profound medicine. In total, there were several thousand. There were even around 100 of the priceless high-quality profound medicine. That amount was too shocking. No wonder the monstrous beasts outside would guard this place to their deaths. It was truly a treasure trove. It must have been the result of many years of accumulation. The instant that Chu Feng stepped onto that place, the several thousand profound medicines suddenly changed. From little grasses that were buried in the flowers and grasses, They turned into terrifying monsters. They bared their teeth, and with open mouths and extended claws, they started their attack on Chu Feng. Heh, my lovely profound medicines, all of you are truly giving me a hug. Chu Feng chuckled, extended his hand and grabbed. Profound power formed into a huge palm and it slammed down. Even the ground trembled once, and that palm pressed several profound medicines to death. He waved his arm and his profound power swept across. With that, dozens of profound medicine were swept to death by Chu Feng and turned back into cute little grasses that didn't have spiritual nature. But even as he killed them so devastatingly, Chu Feng still felt that it was too slow. So he just used his spirit formation power to surround the large area that contained the grasses, then sealed the spirit formation and crushed them alive. Only when they returned to their original forms did he stop the shrinking. Asterisk jai 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 tilde 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 asterisk as Chu Feng swept across with his power. The preciously fierce profound medicines started to escape everywhere, and they powerfully hit the fortress walls. That was quite amusing, because the profound medicines were asking for help. However, it was already a mess outside, so how could anyone notice what was happening inside the fortress? Thus, the profound medicines were helpless. They could only allow Chu Feng to finish them off with a sweep and be killed bit by him. At the end, they became profound medicines without spiritual nature, and they were all picked up by Chu Feng. Haha, refreshing. This is indeed refreshing. As Chu Feng madly laughed, he walked towards the remaining 100 or so profound medicines hiding in the corner. The profound medicines that usually had an abnormally fierce appearance were like frightened sheeps, and they were trembling. Their gazes flickered, and obviously they felt boundless fear. Asterisk boom asterisk suddenly, an explosion resounded out. Rock fragments filled their air, and the fortress was opened by someone. Crap! Chu Feng suddenly turned his head, and he discovered that a group of people rushed in. It was the disciples from the Lingyun School, and the leader was number 2 of the Lingyun School, Feng Hao, the powerful person at the 6th level of the profound realm. Who are you? As Feng Hao intruded into that place with a full heart of happiness, he discovered that the treasure trove was completely empty. After seeing the nearby standing person and a group of trembling profound medicines, his face instantly changed greatly. Feng Hao immediately reacted, and he knew what happened inside. That damn person went in first and completely plundered everything in the huge treasure trove. HMPH. Chu Feng did not care about Feng Hao. He only waved his big sleeve and condensed a spirit formation out. He wanted to take the last few profound medicines in the corner for himself as well. You're looking to die. Seeing that not only did Chu Feng not stop and he was even continuing to plunder, it enraged Feng Hao. He leaped and arrived in front of Chu Feng. Then a fist was thrown towards Chu Feng's back. That fist was not a small thing. Although he did not use profound power, a rank 6 martial skill was condensed within his fist. Its power was extremely frightening, and Feng Hao wanted to use that punch to determine victory or death instantly, and also to kill Chu Feng. At the same time, the crowd behind Feng Hao attacked simultaneously as well. Every single person used extremely strong martial skills, and they did not restrain themselves. In critical times like that, Chu Feng did not restrain himself as well. He flicked his fingers towards them, and 5 white-colored gases explosively shot out. Asterisk roar asterisk an angry roar shook the skies and the ground. Who could even hold the white tiger back once it came out? In front of the white tiger slaughtering technique, even Feng Hao's face changed greatly. He originally wanted to escape, but he lost the chance. With a bang, the condensed huge paw by the white tiger already slammed down. At the same time, not a single disciple behind him survived. Asterisk boom asterisk when the paw came down, instantly, a huge hole appeared. After the dust dispersed, other than Feng Hao, the other people who were there become pools of blood. Even Feng Hao was half-disabled. The most important thing was that white-colored gas already pierced through his chest, and he was heavily injured. At that instant, blood was everywhere on his body. His aura was extremely weak, and he was on the border of life and death. Asterisk whoosh asterisk after defeating Feng Hao and the others with one strike, he waved his sleeve once again. The profound medicines that were already bound down were called over and stuffed into his cosmos sack. He stepped up and he prepared to return where he came from to slip away after being extremely lucky. Asterisk boom asterisk, but just at that time, boundless pressure descended from the skies and sealed Chu Feng's path. He raised his head to look, and even Chu Feng couldn't help but change his expression greatly. A huge hand in the sky came down, and with devastating power, it slammed towards him. That palm was extremely big, and it could be said to cover the skies and the sun. It was condensed by golden-colored radiance, yet it showed real palm patterns. It was not extended by an arm, and only a palm appeared in the sky. But it had to be said that the power the golden-colored huge palm contained was indeed extremely frightening. As for how strong, it was even more terrifying that Lin Ran's cold ice atmosphere. Look, it's Senior Dugas' unique skill, rank 6 martial skill, heaven-descending divine palm. At that instant, someone yelled in surprise, and it allowed Chu Feng to know the origin of the palm as well as the user. He also finally knew why the golden-colored palm came towards him with such huge pressure. But under situations like that, Chu Feng never thought too much about it. With a thought, he linked with the white tiger. Following that, he opened his 5 fingers and explosively palmed towards the sky. Asterisk roar asterisk when the palm was thrown out, instantly, the white-colored gas surged out from his palm. After that, the white-colored gas became a white-colored tiger's paw in the air. It was a real tiger's paw. Although it was only condensed by white-colored gas, one could still see the faint black-colored stripes. It was vivid and lifelike, and there was even fur. The most important thing was that the state of the tiger's paw was completely different than what Chu Feng displayed earlier. Before, the tiger's paw was only in an illusionary state, but this tiger's paw was more near an actual substance. As for why such change happened, that was because Chu Feng just recently gained new power. He improved once again, in terms of appearance for the white tiger slaughtering technique. When the white tiger came out, who could even fight against it? The might of the white tiger slaughtering technique completely surpassed the heaven-descending divine palm. And when the two intersected, it made everyone know what was a true peerless and invincible attack in the world. Asterisk rumble 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 asterisk as the two collided. Even the sky trembled and black-colored cracks extended in the air as though the sky was going to fall. However, after the huge boom, the white-colored tiger's paw rushed into the air and straight through the clouds. Even a hole of a tiger's paw was formed in the clouds in the sky, and only the heavens would know how far the paw went for. Looking back at the golden-colored huge palm, it already became golden-colored ripples. It spread in the air, and in front of the white tiger slaughtering technique, the so-called heaven-descending divine palm could not even take a single strike. What martial skill is that? It has such power. As they looked at the clouds and saw the tiger's paw mark left there, everyone who witnessed that scene were dumbfounded and their eyes were full of shock. Even Dugu Oyun tightly frowned, and his gaze glittered with seriousness. As he looked at Chu Feng, who wore a conical hat, he did not dare to have a single strand of carelessness anymore. He solemnly asked, "Brother, I wonder what your great name is." Asura. Chu Feng's voice was extremely loud and clear. After dissolving the scary attack, Chu Feng could finally observe the situation at that moment. Only then did he discover that the monstrous beasts were all finished off. All of the disciples surged into the fortress, and the one who led them was exactly Dugu Oyun. The current him was already surrounded, but it wasn't that he had no more escaping roads to walk on. Since he was already discovered, Chu Feng did not hurry to escape. He took his time to leave his great name. Of course, it wasn't his true name. Asura, what a good Asura. We painfully and bitterly fought outside, yet you snuck in here and plundered all the profound medicines. Not only that, you even killed people from my Lingyun school. Your actions are a bit too dishonest, are they not? If you're still a man, reveal your true appearance. Let us see what kind of person would do such improper things. Dugu Oyun loudly interrogated. Obviously, he guessed that Asura wasn't Chu Feng's real name. Senior Dugu is right. We've fought for our lives outside, yet you stole away everything here. Hand the profound medicines out and we'll leave you with a complete corpse. At that instant, the other disciples also put out demands towards Chu Feng. After all, they just had a great battle against monstrous beasts, and some were injured while some died. However, if all of that was for nothing, no matter who it was, they would not be willing to accept that. Truly a joke. The profound medicines here belong to those who are able to get it. I never told you to fight for your lives outside, and even without any of you, I can still loot everything here. Leave me with a complete corpse, within all of you who can kill me. Chu Feng sneered and revealed his gaze of killing intent towards his surroundings, even though that it didn't seem important. Almost everyone who was on scene, other than Dugu Oyun, couldn't help but back away one step, and they broke out in a cold sweat from fear. From Chu Feng's gaze, they felt icy cold killing intent, especially after they saw Chu Feng's terrifying palm. No one knew the depth of Chu Feng's abilities. However, they could be sure that Chu Feng was indeed a dangerous person. Dugu Oyun, you dare. Do you want to come over and give it a go? Chu Feng threatened. You think I don't dare? Dugu Oyun coldly said. Haha, if you dare, come up and try. Chu Feng loudly laughed and leaped up into the sky. When he was in midair, he stopped and did not move. He was stepping on air as he hung up in the sky. Heavens, he is standing on air. How is that possible? He is a person in the heaven realm. At that instant, as they looked at Chu Feng, who stood on air with both of his hands behind his back, no one could remain calm anymore. Even though Chu Feng's aura only belonged to the first level of the profound realm, only heaven realm experts had the special ability to step on the air and walk. Heaven realm. That was a character that did not even exist in the entire Azure province. Was the person in front of them truly a heaven realm expert? Didn't that mean that they angered a super huge character that they should not have angered? Where have you come from? Dugu Oyun loudly questioned, and even he was shocked by Chu Feng's methods. Remember, I am Asura. This name will resonate in the entire 9 provinces, and no one will not know this name. After speaking those words, Chu Feng laughed, stepped in the air, and gradually went away. He left the dumbfounded crowds behind who had shocked minds that could not be calmed down for a long time. After Chu Feng left the fortress, he found a more desolate location and started to refine the profound medicines. This time, Chu Feng's harvest was certainly extremely refreshing. It was several times more than all the profound medicines that he got from all the past days. But it was in vain as Chu Feng refined one medicine after the other. The divine lightning consumed it mouthful by mouthful. After refining the profound medicine, Chu Feng discovered that it wasn't that there was no change in his dantian, but the change was too minuscule. Enduring any actions of cursing, Chu Feng continued refining. Finally, after refining everything that he plundered this time, great change happened to his dantian. But the change only happened for an instant. That was right. Chu Feng finally successfully arrived into the 5th level of the origin realm. However, the price of having a breakthrough to that point was a bit heavy. Pretty much, Chu Feng used all the profound medicines that he had like it was nothing. Asterisk Russell asterisk suddenly, Chu Feng's eyes flashed, and he cautiously cast his gaze towards the east because there were several people there quickly running. That change attracted Chu Feng's attention. He quickly concentrated his spirit power over to hear the following words. Quick, I heard that the 3rd lady of the Qilin Prince's mansion, Lin Iwe, is as beautiful as a flower. She is the #1 beauty in the Azure province, and it is a must to have a look. Are you sure that Miss Lin Iwe has set up camp in front? Of course. I personally saw it, so how can it be wrong? This is great. If I can see such beauty with my own eyes in my life, it would be worth it even if I die. But will the people from the Qilin Prince's mansion allow us to go near? Don't worry, the Qilin Prince's mansion isn't as unreasonable as the Lingyun school. So it turned out that the several males who were madly running with happiness and excitement We're only going to look at the beautiful appearance of the Qilin Prince's mansion's third lady. Ah, these people are truly too bored. As he looked at the actions of those people, Chu Feng helplessly shook his head, but then he raised his head to look up. After seeing the color of the sky, he found out that it was getting quite late and soon the sky was going to get dark. Since being idle was boring, Chu Feng also followed the steps of the group of people and chased after them. In an empty space within a forest, a group of young adults with golden-colored armor were standing around with order. Some males were even setting up a camp and pitching a super luxurious tent. Other than the group of golden-armored males, there was also a group of beautiful females with many styles of grace who were starting up fires and cooking on the side. They were preparing all types of delicious foods. The group of people was a branch from the Qilin Prince's mansion. No matter if it were the guards or the servants, all of them were experts in the profound realm, and their strength could not be underestimated. Some people sighed in admiration as they faced the strength of the Qilin Prince's mansion. However, the most eye-grabbing thing that was the sedan chair that was in the middle of the empty space. That sedan chair was very beautiful, and it was created by carving special types of jades. It was extremely pretty. Two servants stood near the entrance of the sedan chair, and those two servants had quite attractive appearances. With white skin and a tall figure, it made the group of disciples outside of the empty land gulp a few times. Tusk, a bunch of bumpkins that haven't seen beauties before. As he looked at the lewd expressions on the group of people, Chu Feng couldn't help but disdainfully shoot them a few glances. Although those servants' appearances were not bad, it could only be said that they were not bad. It was ordinary to the extreme when they were compared to Eggy, who was in Chu Feng's body. Look, she's coming out. She's coming out. The #1 beauty in the Azure province is coming. Suddenly, someone yelled in surprise. Following that, all the males and females outside of the empty space couldn't help but stand on their tiptoes. Their eyes that were almost going to bulge out all gathered on the entrance of that sedan chair. Their moods also became excited. At that instant, Chu Feng could clearly see a pair of beautiful white snow legs that came out after the doors were opened. Those legs were truly pretty. They were long, thin, and straight, and one could simply not find any flaws. They were even comparable to Su Ro's beautiful legs. Even Chu Feng's heart jumped when he saw those beautiful legs. However, the lustful people behind him all surged in front of Chu Feng, and they completely blocked Chu Feng's gaze. Damn, have you guys not seen beauties before? As he saw the densely packed backs of the males in front of him, Chu Feng's current emotions were called angry. With a grab, he forcibly pulled several males in front of him to the back. At that moment, finally, Chu Feng's line of sight could be cast onto Lin Yiwei's body. But this time, Chu Feng's face greatly changed. Instantly, from a wonderful expression, it turned into a green-colored face, as if he ate bitter melons. There was truly nothing one could criticize about the figure of Lin Yiwei, sticking out both in front and behind, snow-white skin. But after seeing her face, it could scare a person to death. She had a shoehorn-like face, pockmarks everywhere, red phoenix eyes, shrimp-like nose, a big mouth that was like a toad, and her pinky was even deeply inserted into a nostril. She was naturally and elegantly picking her nose. She even thought that the stunned expressions of the crowd were from being stunned by her beauty. But she did not know that the stunned expressions were the results of being terrified by her. Just at that time, Chu Feng couldn't bear it anymore, and after opening his mouth he threw up. He truly threw up, and he threw up in front of everyone's faces. Although Chu Feng wasn't that old, he still had pleased countless females. He had seen quite a few beauties, and he had also seen quite a few uglies. However, he had never seen a person as ugly as that. Lin Yiwei's rare appearance truly surpassed Chu Feng's bottom line. Insolence! You dare to throw up in my lady's resting area. Do you not want to live anymore? After Chu Feng vomited, it instantly caused the guards from the Qilin Prince's mansion to be displeased as they pointed at Chu Feng and loudly rebuked. Chu Feng stood up straight again, and after wiping his mouth, he said some words that were filled with contempt. "Your lady's appearance is so disgusting, so can you not let her come to scare people? Even I threw up because of her. How are you going to compensate for this?" After Chu Feng spoke, it was like an explosion of thunder, and it shocked everyone greatly. However, within the hearts of the surrounding disciples, all of them raised their thumbs at Chu Feng and hiddenly said, "Brother, you are too correct." At the same time, they admired Chu Feng quite a bit to be able to dare to speak those words. Who did you say was disgusting?" Similarly, after Chu Feng spoke, it made Lin Yiwei enraged. Even her fingers were trembling as she pointed at Chu Feng. "I say, lady, other than you, who else can I talk about? Please return to the sedan chair and don't come out to scare people, okay?" Chu Feng waved his hands at her, but he did not dare to look at Lin Yiwei again, and he only stared at the servants who were next to her. You bastard! Someone apprehend this person. I want his eyes scooped out, his tongue cut off, his tendons pulled out, his skin peeled off." Lin Yiwei quivered from anger, and she pointed at Chu Feng and insanely started to howl. At the same time, the guards from the Qilin prince's mansion already pounced towards Chu Feng, although they also felt that Lin Yiwei's appearance was really not good as well. When Chu Feng insulted Lin Yiwei in front of the crowd, it meant that they were insulting the Qilin prince's mansion. That was something they could not tolerate. An ugly girl is guarded like treasure. This is truly sad. Naturally, Chu Feng would not obediently stay there and be caught. After taunting the guards who were rushing towards him, with a flash under his feet, he leaped into the forest like light, and he quickly disappeared and could not be seen. No matter how the guards tried to chase after him, they could not catch up to Chu Feng. Finally, they ended up with a conclusion. That boy who wore a conical hat was born in the year of the rabbit, because he truly ran too fast. After leaving the territory of the Qilin prince's mansion, Chu Feng caught a little white rabbit. He was truly frightened by Lin Yiwei's appearance, so he had to eat something to suppress those feelings. At that moment, the sun had already set and the sky was dark. Chu Feng was alone in the desolate forest, and he was preparing to start a fire to cook the rabbit. He extended his finger, and as profound power condensed, a strand of fire fled out. It was a rank 5 martial skill, but its power was not stronger than the 3 thunder styles, so Chu Feng could only use it for starting up a fire. Asterisk whoosh asterisk, however, just as the flames started to burn, Chu Feng quickly extinguished it. After that, he nervously looked back because Chu Feng felt that there were people getting close again. Chu Feng already gotten used of that because the area he was in was a place with a lot of profound medicines, and many people gathered there. Just in case, Chu Feng wanted to change locations, but then he felt that the aura of the person who was getting closer was a bit familiar. So in order to investigate it, he concealed his aura and secretly went close. Damn, this guy is still quite unrestrained and free even in this kind of place. Although he did not expect too much from going close, Chu Feng was instantly shocked. In the empty land, there was a small tent. Outside of the tent was a bonfire. Over the bonfire were some delicious meat, and next to the bonfire was a male and a female. They were currently hugging one another as well as toasting and drinking. That male was Dugu Oyun's brother, Dugu Xianxia, and the female was a disciple in the Lingyun school. At that moment, she was acting cutely, being romantic, and her emotions were going up and down as she was in Dugu Xiangyu's embrace. At that instant, finally, Chu Feng knew why Dugu Xianyu would come to such a place. He did not come along with the Lingyun school army. Clearly, to have a secret affair with that female disciple, they intentionally distanced themselves from the Lingyun school's group. As he looked at Dugu Xianyu, Chu Feng couldn't help but think of Dugu Oyun, and think of the scene today when Dugu Oyun gave out demands along with his group. As he thought of that, the corner of Chu Feng's mouth couldn't help but curl up into an evil smile, and after a leap, he went away. It was deep into the night, and from the wine, Dugu Xiangyu's beast-like nature was greatly displayed. He started to roll around on the grass with his little female junior, with all sorts of deep emotions. When he reached the climax, he started to pull his junior's skirt away. "Senior, not here." The little female junior was a bit embarrassed and she cast her gaze towards the nearby tent. Fine. My beauty, I'll listen to you." Dugu Xiangyu chuckled, then carried the beauty into his embrace and went into the tent. Asterisk, but just as the two entered the tent, footsteps rang out from the forest outside. Who? That made Dugu Xiangyu extremely panicky. As his upper body was naked, he rushed out and jumped into the forest. When he came back, there was a little timid rabbit in his hand. He chuckled and said, "It's nothing, just a little white rabbit." After speaking, Dugu Xiangyu waved his arm and threw the little white rabbit out, and it was crushed into a pile of meat paste. "Wah, my junior, you even took off your clothes by yourself." After Dugu Xiangyu returned to the tent and extended his palm of evil towards his junior, he shockingly discovered that his junior's clothing was already taken off. Her figure was truly too great. It was simply the best body he had ever seen in his life. So Dugu Xiangyu's beastly nature was thoroughly ignited, and love was made with his junior inside the tent. He was not even satisfied after doing it for so long, and he even forgot about the fact that his little female junior did not even make a sound as she was freely played around with. Whoosh, however, just as Dugu Xiangyu was absorbed in his actions. Suddenly, there were footsteps outside in the forest. Following that, lamps lit up everywhere, and a large number of troops surrounded him. "Who is it that dares to disturb my good occasion?" Dugu Xiangyu, who lost himself from the excitement, was furious. As he was naked, he jumped out, but when he saw the people who surrounded him, his expression couldn't help but change, and the fury on his face couldn't help but be held back a bit. It was because the people who surrounded him were not simple troops. It was the army of the Qilin Prince's mansion, and within that group of people, there was even a young male adult who had extremely high cultivation. That male was quite well built, and when the Qilin golden armor was on his body, he looked like a battle god. He was the #1 person within the young generation of the Qilin Prince's mansion, Lin Zhu. Lin Zhu was a first-class person. He had the cultivation of the 7th level of the profound realm, and he was named as the second strongest person in the Azure Province's young generation. He was only slightly weaker than Dugu Oyun. His identity was very special as well, being the eldest son of the Qilin Prince's mansion's Lin Ran, and he was also Lin Yiwei's older brother. At that instant, Linx's face was extremely unkind. It could be seen that he was trying his best to control his anger, and he pointed at Dugu Xiangyu and said, "Dugu Xiangyu, hand my sister back." "Your sister? I don't understand what you mean." Dugu Xiangyu had no confidence as he faced Lin Zhu, and when he was asked like that, he was a bit puzzled. "HMPH, you still dare to act dumb. Someone bring the third lady out." Lin Zhu coldly snorted, and the servants behind him rushed into the tent. Very quickly, a female who wore incomplete clothing was supported out. "Brother Lin Zhu, you can really jest. Where is the third lady here?" "Inside it is. This. What is this?" Dugu Xiangyu chuckled, and he originally wanted to explain, but when he saw the female who was supported out, his was dumbfounded and his face instantly became deathly white. How was that female even his Lingyun School's junior? She was the infamous #1 most ugly female in the Azure Province, Linx's little sister, Lin Yiwei. Heavens, how did this happen? At that instant, Dugu Xiangyu knelt to the ground with a poof. Both of his hands hugged his head, and he knocked his head onto the ground. To think that he, Dugu Xiangyu, who was handsome, distinguished, casual, at ease, and had played with countless beauties, slept with such a top-level ugly female today. He was even extremely excited as he did it. At that instant, he felt that the sky was falling and the ground was collapsing. 10,000 hopes all turned into dust, and currently only a single sentence echoed in his brain. Finished. He, Dugu Xiangyu, was completely finished for his entire life. Dugu Xiangyu kept on explaining and said that it was a misunderstanding. Who he slept with wasn't Lin Yiwei but his female junior. After hearing Dugu Xiangyu say that, it made Lin Zhu furious as he detained Dugu Xiangyu and gave him a good beating. At the end, the people from the Lingyun school were alerted, and Dugu Ouyun led the Lingyun school group and hurried over. However, as he faced the Qilin prince's mansion, even Dugu Ouyun did not dare to forcibly take him away. After all, the matter this time was indeed his younger brother's, Dugu Xiangyu's, fault. What is happening? With bruises on his face, Dugu Xiangyu knelt in the corner as he looked at his elder brother who was discussing with Lin Zhu and the others about the grievance in his heart. He wanted to throw up when he thought of Lin Iwei's face, when he thought he slept with such an ugly female, and he was even so absorbed with pleasure. He really wanted to slap himself 2 times, but even if he did that, he could not resolve his anger. What has happened happened. What use is there to regret it now? Dugu Ouyun walked over and he was extremely calm. Brother, how will this matter be resolved? Dugu Xiangyu stood up and quickly asked. Marry her. Dugu Ouyun indifferently said. What, marry her? You're talking about Lin Iwei. You want me to marry Lin Iwei? After hearing those words, Dugu Xiangyu was instantly unable to remain calm. His face was even greener than a cucumber and his mouth opened quite big. Who else will marry her? Me. At that instant, Dugu Ouyun's face couldn't help but change as well. He pointed at Dugu Xiangyu's nose and reprimanded. Who do you think you slept with this time? The third lady of the Qilin prince's mansion. Her father is head manager Lin Ran of the Qilin prince's mansion. You slept with the daughter of one of the Qilin prince's mansion's head managers, and you want to get away with it. Right now, marrying her is already the limit for you. Brother, is there really no other way? I really don't want to marry that ugly woman. Dugu Xiangyu hopes were all gone, so he knelt in front of Dugu Ouyun and begged with pity. As he looked at his own younger brother, even Dugu Ouyun's heart ached a bit. He couldn't help but close his eyes and said, if you want to live, then marry. Or else, even if the school head appears, he won't be able to save you. Damn it, who set this up? Dugu Xiangyu knew that the result was unchangeable, and he couldn't help but roar in fury. Senior Dugu, Senior Liu is back. Just at that time, a Lingyun school disciple ran over. A female followed behind him, and it was the little female junior who was swapped away from Dugu Xiangyu. You damn woman, where did you run off to? After seeing the little junior, Dugu Xiangyu was furious and he angrily pounced over. Stop! But before even letting him go near, he was stopped by the nearby Dugu Ouyun. After that, Dugu Ouyun looked at the little female whose face was filled with fear while not knowing what to do and said, Junior Liu, where did you go last night? I also don't know what happened. Last night I suddenly lost consciousness, and when I woke back up I was already in the forest. That's right. When I woke up, there was a letter next to me. It says here to give it to you, Senior Aeyun. The little junior handed a letter over while trembling with fear, and on the letter it said, please pass it to Dugu Ouyun. Seeing that, Dugu Ouyun tightly frowned as he received the letter. After he opened it, Dugu Ouyun's face changed greatly and strong killing intent spread out from his body, because on the letter it said, I gift a beauty for your younger brother. I wish them 100 years of good love and loud songs sung every night Asura. Damned Asura. One day I will cut your corpse into 10,000 pieces. Dugu Ouyun ripped the letter into shreds. At that instant, he was endlessly furious and perhaps even a bit insane when he thought about his younger brother who was really framed by someone, and the person who framed him was the person who schemed against them yesterday. Dugu Ouyun truly could not endure that resentment. He hiddenly vowed to slaughter the male who called himself as Asura. From that day forth, as if he was insane, Dugu Ouyun searched the Valley of 100 Bends, and he wanted to try to find the whereabouts of that Asura. But it was useless. The Valley of 100 Bends was so huge, and it was truly like fishing a needle in an ocean if he wanted to find someone in that place. So straight until the end of the heroic hunt, he still had no harvests. At the end, he could only leave the Valley of 100 Bends with a stomach full of fury. However, when everyone was leaving the Valley of 100 Bends, Chu Feng chose to stay behind because he discovered that the Valley of Hundred Bends was truly a treasure trove. It was just like that place was a huge treasure itself, and endless profound medicines were waiting for him to be taken. If he stayed there for a longer time and waited until the date of the arranged battle, perhaps Chu Feng could make several more breakthroughs and use his own body's cultivation to defeat Gong Lu Yun. However, when the heroic hunt ended, Chu Feng finally knew why everyone knew that it was a treasure trove, yet had no choice but to leave after the predetermined time. At that very instant, terrifying invisible pressure appeared in the entire Valley of Hundred Bends. That pressure was very strange. It made people unable to breathe, but it only affected humans because Chu Feng discovered that other than him, the plants, animals, including monstrous beasts, were same as usual and safe and sound. Only he received the pressure. Damn it, are the people from the Lingyun School and the Qilin Prince's mansion really this strong? They can seal the entire Valley of Hundred Bends into a dead zone like this. The current Chu Feng was already in the air, but it was in vain as after going above the clouds, he only felt a bit of comfortableness, but he could not get rid of the strange pressure. In that situation, not to mention continuing to hunt profound medicines in the Valley of Hundred Bends, it would be hard on top of hard if he even wanted to survive. No, this was absolutely not sealed by the many powerful people from the Qilin Prince's mansion and the Lingyun School. It would be impossible for them to have these kinds of methods. Eggy explained, if I'm not mistaken, this Valley of Hundred Bends isn't controlled by the many powers in the Azure province. The Valley of Hundred Bends itself decides the opening time everywhere, because the Valley of Hundred Bends is a huge formation by itself. No matter if it's the Lingyun School or the Qilin Prince's mansion, neither of them are able to control this formation. Eggy continued saying, what? This vast Valley of Hundred Bends is a formation. What kind of methods do you need to lay such a strong formation? After hearing those words, Chu Feng was endlessly shocked. Then he added, what should we do now? The formation just opened, so this strange pressure isn't too strong yet. However, as time passes, it will get more and more scary. When it completely opens with your cultivation, you will not be able to endure this. So, you must quickly leave this place, or else even if you are in the air, you will suffocate to death by the pressure. Eggy tensely reminded. Chu Feng didn't dare to be slow, and he quickly flew towards the outsides of the Valley of Hundred Bends. But it was in vain, because just like how Eggy said it was, the pressure became more and more strong, so strong that he could not breathe, and if that continued on, he could not leave that place alive. But just as Chu Feng felt that he wasn't going to have much luck within his line of sight, a mountain peak appeared. It was the mountain peak that he saw before, and one with the mysterious temple. At that moment, from the temple which was on the summit of the mountain peak, there was faint smoke rising from it. That meant that other than Chu Feng, there was another person who stayed in the Valley of Hundred Bends. The Valley of Hundred Bends was a terrifying formation, as its range went from the ground to the sky. As long as it was within the scope of the Valley of Hundred Bends, there would be a layer of invisible pressure that engulfed them and started to suppress humans. That scary pressure was not blockable even if it was Chu Feng. However, in such a place, there was someone staying there, and in that instant it was right in front of his eyes. Hey, is there anyone? Can you help me out? The current Chu Feng was on the border of life and death, but he knew that the master of the temple must have a method to decipher the formation. After all, that person was very possibly a Blue Cloak world spiritist. His spirit formation methods would certainly be incomparable by Chu Feng. Besides, from the smoke, he could tell that there was indeed someone there, and that person was not affected by the strange pressure, or else how would he be so peaceful as to cook there? So Chu Feng used all his power to rush near the temple hall. At that instant, he didn't care who the master of the temple hall was, or whether it was dangerous or not. He knew that if the master there helped him, he would have a string of chance to live. If he didn't help, he would undoubtedly die. Asterisk whoosh asterisk. Just as Chu Feng was going to get near, a person jumped out from the temple hall and landed on the summit of the mountain peak. It was an old man who had white hair and a face full of wrinkles. However, his eyes were bright and lively. The most important thing was that the old man wore a golden-colored robe. On the chest section of that robe, there was even a qilin. He was a person from the Qilin prince's mansion. When the old man saw that Chu Feng could stand in air, he couldn't help but tightly frown, and a hint of shock emerged onto his face. After a while, he calmed back down and indifferently asked, "Who are you?" "Senior, I am a disciple from the Azure Dragon School, and I came to participate in the heroic hunt. However, since I was unable to leave the Valley of 100 Bends in time, I am being restricted by strange pressure. Right now, I cannot breathe, so I hope that you can save my life." Chu Feng went straight into the main topic because he really did not have time to speak any useless words. "My apologies. I am not the master here, so I cannot decide. How about this? Wait a while and I'll go ask. As for whether he is willing to help you or not will depend on your luck." The old man left those words. Then, after assessing Chu Feng with surprise, his body leaped and he rushed back into the temple hall. At that moment, within the temple hall, an old man with a lively face, while wearing clothing that was roughly made by cloth, was sitting in front of a stove. He had one leg over the other while humming a little tune as he cooked soup in high spirits. As he saw the white-haired old man return, the cloth-clothed old man very casually asked, "Feng Yang, what kind of person intruded into my territory?" "A boy at the first level of the profound realm," the white-haired old man said. "A boy at the first level of the profound realm. Feng Yang, what kind of joke is that? Clearly, that person came over while walking on air. How can he have the cultivation of the first level of the profound realm? He should be in the heaven realm." The cloth-clothed old man suspiciously curled his lips. "You knew yet you told me to go, and at the end, I told you yet you don't believe. You're a blue cloak world spiritist, so wouldn't you know who that person is if you check?" The white-haired old man helplessly glared at the cloth-clothed old man. At that instant, the cloth-clothed old man already closed his eyes, and when he reopened them, a bit of shock also emerged into his gaze as he said, "Impressive. First level of the profound realm, and he already grasped a method to walk on air. It seems that he cultivated a special bodily martial skill, and he isn't that old. I say, Feng Yang, it seems that your Azure province has a good seedling, huh? But sadly, he is unable to endure the pressure from this formation. I'm afraid that his little life will be hard to be kept alive." The cloth-clothed old man shook his head and continued humming the little tune and cooking the meat soup on the stove. "Brother Hung Yuan, in my Azure province, there aren't many martial skills that allow someone to walk on air. This person must got the inheritance of the Imperial Sky Sage. It's quite hard to see the Imperial Sky Sage's unique skill for walking on air that disappeared for 100 years reappear. I wonder if Brother Hung Yuan can give me face and save his life." The white-haired old man pleaded, "Brother Feng Yang, martial skills for walking on air are hard to get treasures in any of the 9 provinces. However, what does that have to do with me? I hiddenly live in this place because I don't want anyone to disturb me. Since he discovered this area in the future, it would be hard for him to keep this a secret, and he would leak it out. Not to mention if he doesn't die from the formation pressure here. Even if he lives, I will not let him leave alive." The cloth-clothed old man faintly smiled. "Brother Hung Yuan, are you truly not going to save a life?" The white-haired old man slightly frowned. "It seems like you don't understand me enough." The cloth-clothed old man smiled and he was not moved. Asterisk whoosh asterisk at that instant. The white-haired old man did not waste any words anymore. He leaped out of the temple hall and arrived on the summit of the mountain peak once again. As he looked at Chu Feng, who stood on air, had a deathly white face, and was going to fall down at any moment, he tightly frowned as if doing a hard decision. But at the end, he still grinded his teeth and took out a crystal-like badge from his chest pocket. He threw it towards Chu Feng and said, "Catch." Asterisk bang asterisk. Seeing that, Chu Feng quickly extended his hand to receive it, and after getting the badge, the invisible pressure that circled around Chu Feng instantly disappeared. The air and profound power that vanished before reappeared around Chu Feng. In that instant, Chu Feng was incomparably happy because he was finally saved. He first closed his eyes and deeply breathed for a few moments. For the first time, he felt that breathing was quite a comfortable thing. "Thank you, Senior, what's wrong?" Chu Feng originally wanted to thank him, but he discovered with astonishment that the white-haired old man's face was a bit pale white, and it was a bit ugly. He looked just like how Chu Feng was earlier. "I only have one of the badges. After giving it to you, I have to bear the formation pressure here as well." The white-haired old man calmly smiled and said, "What, this?" After hearing those words, Chu Feng was instantly greatly shocked. He never would have thought that the old man who met him for the first time, and were complete strangers, would sacrifice his life in order to save him. That put Chu Feng in a difficult situation. He could see that the master of that area was not willing to save him, and that the old man decided this on his own. He gave his own object of protection to Chu Feng, but from that, he himself sank into danger. Although Chu Feng really wanted to continue living, he was not willing to let an old man who he met for the first time lose his life in order to save him. "Chu Feng, quickly remember the formation in this badge. As long as you remember it, I can help you recreate a protection badge like this. At that time, naturally, you can hold the formation pressure off." Just at that time, Egge's pleasing voice rang out in Chu Feng's brain. At that instant, Chu Feng suddenly realized what to do. Without hesitating, he quickly imbued his spirit power into the crystal-like badge, and he studied the formation in the badge. After a while, he raised his head with a flash of enlightenment, and he discovered that the white-haired old man's face was getting more and more ugly. So he said, "Senior, I am Chu Feng. What would your great name be? In the future, I will certainly repay this life-saving favor." "Ho, little friend, you're called Chu Feng. That is quite a good name." Chi Fengyang forced a light smile out, but he could not conceal the pain of having trouble breathing. Big favors are not thanked with words. In the future, I will repay this favor with actions. Senior, I hope we will meet again. After saying those words, Chu Feng threw the badge in his hand back to Chi Fengyang. "Chu Feng, you." At the same time that Chi Fengyang caught the badge, he discovered that Chu Feng already turned around and left. At that instant, he originally wanted to chase, but he could not, as he who was not able to walk on air was powerless. "This boy is quite courageous, but that's good. If he did not give the protective badge back to you, I would have personally taken it back. It is always better for him to take the initiative to hand it back rather than me killing him." Just at that time, faint laughter rang out. The lively cloth-clothed old man already appeared next to Chi Fengyan without any voice. However, he was not standing on the peak of the mountain. He was standing on air. Since he did that, it also meant that sacrificing myself to save him was not in vain. However, if he lost his life just like that, it would really be quite a pity. Can you truly not help him out? Chi Fengyan looked at the cloth-clothed old man next to him, and his gaze brought a bit of pleading. "Did you really sacrifice yourself to save him just now? You just took your life to threaten me. You knew that I would save you if you were going to die." The cloth-clothed old man sharply said, then added, "Oh Fengyang, in this Azure province I only have you as a friend. I don't want the feelings between us to be affected by a boy like him." After saying that, the cloth-clothed old man patted Fengyang's shoulder and walked back into his own temple. As he looked at the departing back, a bitter smile appeared on Chi Fengyang's face. He understood the meaning behind the cloth-clothed old man's words. Also, he was very clear that in front of that person, it was already an honor to speak to him as equals. He truly had no qualifications to ask that person to help him do anything. "Young man, I hope that you have good luck and fate to be able to use your own abilities to leave this place." After that, Chi Fengyang regrettably looked at the direction Chu Feng left in, and also returned back to the temple. Whoosh *, as Chi Fengyang felt pity for Chu Feng. Chu Feng arrived on top of another mountain peak, and he started to lay the spirit formation to condense the protective badge that would enable him to hold the formation pressure away. That didn't work, it's too complicated. Although I know the method of condensing it, I can't condense it out quickly. Chu Feng tightly frowned. He discovered that the methods of Blue Cloak World Spiritists was indeed very challenging for him, who was a Grey Cloak World Spiritist. Chu Feng, keep on going. I believe that you can. You understand this method of condensation very clearly, but you just don't have a good enough quality spirit formation. However, I believe that you can do it. You have to continue on, or else not only will you die, even I will die with you. As she faced that situation, Eggy was completely helpless as well. Although she was clear on how to do it, she had no way of helping Chu Feng to do it. Although she could borrow Chu Feng's body, she could only use her own power to fight, but not use the spirit formation of her own. So at that moment Chu Feng only rely on himself. Right, I must succeed, I cannot fail. I still have too many things to do, and besides, even if I die I can't let Eggy die with me. After hearing Eggy's words, Chu Feng instantly found the force. He did not even know where he got the power from, but at that moment, it wasn't as hard to bear as before. Even if there was no air to breathe, he could still concentrate and lay the formation with his full power to condense the badge. Under a situation like that, like a miracle, Chu Feng lasted for an hour. He did not breathe for an hour, and that was quite a big test on the heart. If he was a normal person, he would have already died, but Chu Feng was able to last that long. Although the current him had a pale white face like paper, his gaze was abnormally burning as he tightly stared at the spirit formation in front of his eyes. Layer by layer, he merged his spirit formation power into it, and with clever methods, they combined into one. Finally, hot light spread out from it, and the boundless spirit formation quickly started to condense. Finally, with 4 symbols as the shrinking point, it became a small and delicate spirit formation badge. That spirit formation badge was as translucent as crystal, and it was very beautiful. However, it was filled with spirit formation power inside it, and the spirit formation power was currently revolving around in complicated paths. It was the formation that Chu Feng condensed out. At the same time, when he had the badge in his hand, the pressure that lingered around Chu Feng instantly disappeared like smoke and clouds. That meant something. It meant that Chu Feng succeeded. Chu Feng, you've succeeded. You've really succeeded. This is great. You're able to do something that only Blue Cloak World Spiritists can do. At that instant, Eggy's smile was called sweet, and she was skipping and bouncing in the world spirit space as she excitedly cheered. She was truly happy from the bottom of her heart for Chu Feng. Not only did that mean that Chu Feng saved his own life as well as hers, since Chu Feng could do that, it also meant that his potential was extremely exceptional, and he had extremely high talent. I still have to thank that senior. If he didn't help me by lending the badge to me so I could learn the condensation method for the badge, I'm afraid that I would have been in some huge troubles. Chu Feng bitterly chuckled, and a bit of gratitude emerged onto his face. From then on, Chu Feng, who had the badge in his hands, was like a fish in water as he was in the Valley of 100 Bends. Before, he was sharing the treasures, along with the young generation of the Azure province. But now, he was free to use anything in the Valley of 100 Bends. Not only the profound medicines, but even the exquisite fragrant animal meat, and also the sweet and tasty spring water there. Chu Feng truly loved that place. In addition, other than the Valley of 100 Bends, Chu Feng did not know if he could find another area where he could plunder a large amount of profound medicines. So when Chu Feng stayed in the Valley of 100 Bends, he stayed for an entire half year. In that period of time, Chu Feng plundered countless origin medicines and countless profound medicines. But the Valley of 100 Bends was truly too big. Even if he searched every day, profound medicines were as though they were endless, and Chu Feng could not find the end to them. But what Chu Feng was helpless towards was no matter how much stronger his spirit power was, and how many more profound medicines he refined, It would never be enough for the divine lightning in his body to engulf. After half a year of time, Chu Feng's cultivation only rose by 2 levels, and he only entered the 7th level of the origin realm. Although that cultivation did not seem that strong, with Chu Feng's methods, there was no need to talk about those at the 3rd level of the profound realm. Only those at the 4th level of the profound realm could fight with him. So he felt that with his own cultivation, it was no longer a problem to take care of Gong Lu Yun. However, although Chu Feng's cultivation increased by a bit in the half-year, since Eggy could not absorb any strong source energy, her cultivation had not increased at all, and she still remained in the 1st level of the profound realm. But knowing that Chu Feng wanted to defeat Gong Lu Yun with his own strength, Eggy did not blame Chu Feng at all. Rather, she encouraged Chu Feng to cultivate in that place. After all, after the arranged battle, Chu Feng had plenty of time to search for source energy for Eggy. On that day, Chu Feng counted the dates a bit, and there was less than a month until the arranged battle. As he thought about some things he wanted to take care of before the arranged battle, Chu Feng decided to leave the Valley of 100 Bends. It was because the battle would not be as simple as he imagined it to be. After all, on that day, Lin Ran from the Qilin Prince's mansion would protect Gong Lu Yun. So if Chu Feng killed Gong Lu Yun, after that day, Lin Ran would absolutely not just let it go. So Chu Feng had to do some preparations, or at least before he stirred up a disaster, his family would not be affected by him again. At the same time that Chu Feng was preparing to leave, on the mountain peak, the cloth-clothed old man and Chu Feng were currently playing chess in the temple hall. Brother Hung Yuan, thanks to you these days, I already feel the critical point for a breakthrough. If this continues, before half a year, I can make a breakthrough from the 9th level of the profound realm to enter the heaven realm. Chu Feng gratefully said. Brother Feng, in the past years in the Azure province, I also have to thank you for taking care of me. With the relationship between us two, these words are too polite. But, coming from the Qilin Prince's mansion, and as the chief of the Qi clan, will there really be no problems after leaving the prince's mansion for so long? The cloth-clothed old man made his next move with a smile. As long as I enter the heaven realm, I can stand shoulder to shoulder with the lord of the mansion. Even if the Lin clan and that old thing suppresses my Qi clan when I'm not there, when I get back, they can only yield to me. As he mentioned that matter, Chu Feng had proudness all over his face. Right now, in the 9 provinces, the heaven realm is no longer a legend. But in your Azure province, only the lord of the Qilin Prince's mansion and the head of the Lingyun school entered that realm. No wonder the Azure province is the weakest out of the 9 provinces. The cloth-clothed old man shook his head. Ho ho! Chu Feng could only bitterly smile at the cloth-clothed old man's mocking words, and he did not refute. To think that at first, the Azure province had the most powerful people, and it was always the strongest province in the 9 provinces. But at first. Currently, it was truth that the Azure province was in decline. Of course, the reason why the Azure province was in decline was because their generation was too mediocre. Thinking to that point, even Chu Feng couldn't help but sigh. Looking over at the current young generations in the Azure province, there aren't many people who are too exceptional. Dugu Oyun is not bad in the Azure province, but within the young generations in the entire 9 provinces, he is a bit too mediocre. Does the heavens really want my Azure province to die out? It won't. A quite outstanding person in the young generation in your Azure province has appeared. Just give him a bit of time, and he will certainly surpass Dugu Oyun. The cloth-clothed old man indifferently smiled and said, Brother Hung Yuan, what do you mean by that? After hearing those words, Chu Feng's calm expression couldn't help but change, and he quickly questioned. There isn't only 2 people in the Valley of 100 Bends. Other than you and me, there's another person who stayed in the Valley of 100 Bends for a good half a year. Also, within this half a year, he has gotten quite a good harvest. He stole the profound medicines from the monstrous beast's treasure trove for breeding, and he went wherever he wished in the entire Valley of 100 Bends. The most important thing is that he is a Grey Cloak world spiritist, and he's even a young man. If he can do such things at such an age, his future truly is unlimited. The cloth-clothed old man smiled once again, a young man with the abilities of a Grey Cloak world spiritist. At that instant, Chu Feng was truly unable to remain calm. He excitedly and suddenly stood up because to the Azure province, a Grey Cloak world spiritist was certain quite a character. A young man being able to become a Grey Cloak world spiritist was certainly quite an impressive thing, and he had to value that. But after some more detailed thinking, Chu Feng felt that something was wrong. So he said, "Brother Hung Yuan, but this is the Valley of 100 Bends. You said unless it's a Blue Cloak world spiritist, or someone in the heaven realm with extremely strong power, no one can hold the pressure back after the formation opened in the Valley of 100 Bends. How can a Grey Cloak world spiritist survive for half a year in this place?" Ha ha, isn't that the outstandingness of that young man? On that topic, the reason why he can survive is all thanks to you, Brother Feng Yang. On that day, if you didn't give the protective badge over to him, it would not be possible for him to remember the formation to condense the badge. However, even so, I do have to admit that this child is quite exceptional. After all, if you weren't a Blue Cloak world spiritist, you had no way of condensing my formation. But he did it. Say for yourself, isn't he quite an outstanding person in the young generation? The cloth-clothed old man lightly smiled and said, "Brother Hung Yuan, you're saying that the young man who lived in the Valley of 100 Bends for half a year was Chu Feng from that day." At that instant, Chu Feng finally realized who it was, and his gaze was filled with shock. "Naturally, it's him." The cloth-clothed old man nodded his head. "I said that the young man was a rare genius, but I never would have thought that he would be a genius to this stage. No wonder he could get the inheritance of the Imperial Sky Sage." Also at that moment, Chu Feng finally understood, and at the same time that he was stunned, he smiled as if he was enlightened, and more, he felt that the action he did that day was correct. What is even the Imperial Sky Sage? He was just a person at the peak of the profound realm, and he could never even touch the heaven realm in his life. The reason why he was able to create the air-walking martial skill was certainly because of chances in addition to luck. That young man is a lot more outstanding than him because half a year ago, a mysterious character appeared in the Azure province. Mr. Grey Cloak. Not only did that Mr. Grey Cloak alert the Lingyun School, he even alerted your Qilin Prince's mansion. Even though he disappeared for half a year, he is still a person who is discussed in the free time of the people in the Azure province. If I'm not mistaken, this Mr. Grey Cloak should be the young man called Chu Feng. The cloth-clothed old man continued saying, "There is actually such things. It seems that this Chu Feng is quite a restless boy." After hearing the cloth-clothed old man's narration, the smile on Chu Feng's face got more and more wider. His heart was endlessly excited, because if a person was more restless, that meant that they would be more able to become a great character. After all, within the peak powerful people in history, which one of them did not show their abilities when they were young, and looked down upon the people from their own generation. Right now, a young man like that appeared in the Azure province, so Chu Feng was as though he saw the light. Naturally, he would be incomparably joyful. However, this boy might face a calamity. Suddenly, the cloth-clothed old man suddenly said, "Calamity? Brother Hung Yuan, what do you mean?" After hearing that, Chu Feng's expression changed greatly. This child has set a life and death battle with a person, and the date of it is nearing. His opponent is the son of the Black Tortoise City's lord, and he receives deep love from Lin, ran from your Qilin Prince's mansion's Lin clan. In the past half year, in order to develop him, he did not exhaust a small amount of your Qilin Prince's mansion's resources. As for that young man, even though he has extraordinary talent, he doesn't have any background in the Azure province, so I feel that he won't have much luck in his battle. The cloth-clothed old man explained. After hearing those words, Chu Feng tightly frowned. Then he said to the cloth-clothed old man, "Brother Hung Yuan, go ahead. I know that you want a presentable young generation in the Azure province. This boy is quite worthy for you to help." Before even letting Chu Feng finish his words, the cloth-clothed old man waved his hand at him. "Indeed, you know me well. Brother Hung Yuan, I'll take my leave." As he spoke, Chu Feng wanted to leave, but he stopped his steps when he was at the entrance. He turned around, clasped his hands, and said, "Brother Hung Yuan, thank you for leaving this child with his life. I thank you in his place." After Chu Feng left, the face of the cloth-clothed old man became more solemn. Worry filled his gaze, and as he stood on the mountain peak, he looked at the distant sky and faintly said, "It has been 6 years, so why haven't you appeared yet? A divine body should not stay so silent and unknown, right? Is it possible that some accident truly happened?" At that instant, the cloth-clothed old man couldn't help but sigh as he gradually closed his eyes, and his thoughts floated towards the night that happened 6 years ago. On that night, above the silver rivers of the 9 heavens, a 9-colored divine lightning appeared. It shook the entire continent, but at the end, it shot towards the Azure province. On that night, the several tens of thousands of dynastical experts from the Jiang dynasty headed towards the Azure province. They vowed to find the divine body, but they returned empty-handedly. After Chu Feng left the Valley of 100 Bends, the first place he headed towards was the #1 school in the Azure province, the Lingyun School. His goal was to find his elder brother, Chu Guyu. After the Chu family gathering a year ago, Chu Feng hadn't seen his elder brother even once. However, his elder brother, undoubtedly, was the person Chu Feng cared about the most in the Chu family. If Chu Feng had to say who was the most important person in the Chu family, other than his father Chu Yuan, it would be Chu Guyu. They were the two persons that Chu Feng felt any family feelings from. Currently, as the battle between Chu Feng and Gong Luyun was nearing, there would certainly be troubles in the future. Although Chu Guyu was a disciple from the Lingyun school, after all, he had a petty status, and with his strength, he had no way of protecting himself. It was too easily for the Gong family to harm him if they wished to. So Chu Feng wanted to bring Chu Guyu away to a more safer place. "You said that Chu Guyu isn't in the Lingyun school. Where did he go?" As he was in front of the Lingyun school's entrance, Chu Feng looked at the Lingyun school's outer court disciple with a bit of shock. "How should I know? You're his relative, so if you don't know, how should I know?" The disciples from the Lingyun school were very prideful. Even the outer court disciples were like that. He could not see what cultivation Chu Feng had, so he even thought that Chu Feng was a commoner. Therefore, the gaze he looked at Chu Feng was filled with disdain, and the big word annoyance was written all over his face. After knowing that Chu Guyu left the Lingyun school, Chu Feng's heart was like tangled hemp, and he didn't even bother with that disciple. However, after some more careful thinking, where would Chu Guyu possibly go after leaving the Lingyun school? After all, at that moment, the Chu family did not exist anymore, and Chu Guyu would not leave the Lingyun school, which was a huge shelter, for no cause or reason. "Brother, what kind of relationship do you have with Senior Chu?" However, as Chu Feng prepared to leave the Lingyun school, a male walked over. He was also a disciple from the Lingyun school, but he was just an outer court disciple. His age was similar to Chu Guyu's, and at that instant he appeared in front of Chu Feng. Not only did he not have the arrogance like the other Lingyun school disciples, rather, his face was full of smiles. "I am Chu Guyu's younger brother, and I am called Chu Feng. Senior, do you know where my elder brother went?" Chu Feng felt that the male would not randomly come over to talk to him, so he must know some hidden things. "Brother Chu Feng, come over here to speak." After the male looked around him, he pulled Chu Feng to a corner where there was no one. Only then did he speak. "I entered the Lingyun school at the same time with your elder brother. When we were in the outer court, we were good brothers. He had better talent than me and became an inner court disciple before me. However, that still did not affect the relationship between us two. Your elder brother did have quite good talent, and if he continued to cultivate, even if he could not become a core disciple, he would have become an elder in the Lingyun school. However, half a year ago, something happened in your family, right? The male suddenly asked. There was an incident in the family, and our father passed away. Chu Feng did not say the truth, because a family being exterminated was never good when said. Ah, no wonder. After getting hold of that news, he instantly became another person. He contacted me even less, and his temper was abnormally violent. Exactly because of that, him, who usually followed the rules, offended the grandson of an inner court elder. Not only was your elder brother heavily injured, he was even kicked out of the Lingyun school. The disciple sighed and said, "My elder brother got kicked out of the Lingyun school. Who was it? Who harmed my elder brother?" After hearing those words, Chu Feng was endlessly furious, and he was even a bit mad. Whatever, it wouldn't be useful even if I told you. However, I can tell you where your elder brother is right now. The male spoke. 500 miles away from the Lingyun school, there was a small tavern. There were no waiters in the tavern, and there was only one boss. That boss was none other than Chu Feng's elder brother, Chu Guyu. The current Chu Guyu was exactly 18 years old, and it was the great age of being at one's prime. However, the heroic spirit from the past could not be seen anymore. The current him was wearing a roughly made cloth clothing, and huge changes happened on his gloomy and dispirited face. As he walked, he was also limping. He became a cripple. Oi, 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 Chu Guyu, god damn, can't you be a bit faster? Don't you know I'm hungry? Where's the beer? Where's the beer? Quickly bring the beer. Damn, if you don't be faster, I'll smash your broken tavern up. Within the tavern, 3 tables were filled with guests. There were roughly 6 people per table, and all of them were inner court disciples from the Lingyun school. As they drank beer, they pointed at Chu Guyu and loudly cursed at him. Chu Guyu already got used to that scene. He could not offend the group of people because he didn't dare to offend the group of people. However, it wasn't for himself. He thought about his younger brother. Senior Zhao, this Chu Guyu can endure quite a bit. Every month we come here to break his tavern, yet he still remains here and doesn't leave. A disciple spoke to a male who had a white face as well as a goatee. He doesn't dare. Although his Chu family was exterminated, Chu Guyu still has a younger brother called Chu Feng. Right now, that Chu Feng is in the Azure Dragon School cultivating. If he dares to leave this place, I will make his younger brother even more miserable than him. The goatee male sneered and said, "It seems that Chu Guyu has quite deep feelings towards his younger brother. He can do such sacrifices for the safety of his younger brother. However, Senior Zhao, from what I see, you should just kill him. Since he dares to offend you, he should not be living in his world." Another disciple agreed and said, It's extremely simple to kill him, but that would be too good for him. I want him to continue living so paddily, more poor than any person, and more miserable than any person. Today, I will destroy his cultivation, and he will thoroughly become a cripple." The goatee male drank a mouthful of beer, and coldness appeared in his eyes. After that, with some shattering noises, the cup was thrown onto the floor. Asterisk clatter clatter asterisk. Seeing that, the disciples from the other 2 tables also suddenly flipped the tables over. Then they cast their gazes of ill intent towards Chu Guyu, who walked out from the kitchen. At that moment, there was a dish of food on one of Chu Guyu's hands, and beer in the other. He already expected the scene in front of his eyes. He helplessly looked at the goatee male and indifferently said, "Zhao Dai, isn't it enough? I am no longer a Lingyun school disciple, and I also did not leave your line of sight. No matter how you say it, I am still a cultivator. Even if I don't have the halo of being a disciple from the Lingyun school, I still have my achievements. I know that you don't want me to be well, so I pettily opened this tavern here. But even so, you are still not willing to let me go. What do you want me to do? HMPH. Let you go. If I let you go, I wouldn't be Zhao Dai. What I want you to do, I want you to be even more miserable. It seems that you aren't clear where you belong. A cultivator. Today, you will not longer be a cultivator. You will not even be a commoner. As he spoke, the goatee male suddenly stood up. He took out a dagger that flashed with coldness from his sleeve and aggressively walked towards Chu Guyu. As the goatee male held the dagger, he went closer to Chu Guyu with a fierce face. He already emanated the pressure of the first level of the origin realm. Kneel! The goatee male explosively yelled, and the pressure formed by origin realm surged towards Chu Guyu like the tide. At that instant, Chu Guyu wanted to resist, but how could he, who only had the cultivation of the 7th level of the spirit realm, resist the pressure of a person in the origin realm? With a poof, he knelt down. Asterisk bang bang asterisk after he arrived in front of Chu Guyu, the goatee male spread open his arms and gave Chu Guyu 2 loud and clear slaps. The strong power forcibly threw Chu Guyu to the ground, and blood sprayed out from his mouth. 2 big lumps swelled up from the sides of his face. Heh! Chu Guyu only chuckled at the goatee male's slap. He already gotten used to it. He already gotten used to the various types of humiliation from them. However, he never fought back. It wasn't that he didn't dare to fight back. It was that he didn't want to fight back. He knew that he had an outstanding younger brother. As long as he gave his young brother a certain amount of time, he could certainly grow up well. At that time, all the humiliation that he suffered could all be given back, and the great hatred of the extermination of his Chu family could also be avenged. Ha, you laugh. God damn, you can still laugh. I'll let you laugh, I'll let you laugh. Let me see if you can still laugh. The goatee male was enraged by Chu Guyu's laughter. He raised his leg and stepped on a Chu Guyu's other feet. With a cracking sound, Chu Guyu's other perfect leg was snapped by the goatee male. The pain of his leg breaking engulfed him, but Chu Guyu tightly bit his teeth together and didn't make a sound. At the same time, he did not beg for forgiveness either, because he knew that begging was useless towards these kinds of people. Laugh, if you laugh again, you'll never be able to laugh again in your life. The goatee male kept on sneering, and he raised the dagger in his hand. Insanely, he stabbed towards Chu Guyu's dantian, and he was truly prepared to destroy Chu Guyu's cultivation. No, at that instant, even Chu Guyu's expression greatly changed. He couldn't help but yell out loud. No matter how the goatee male treated him, he could endure it. However, he could not tolerate his own cultivation being destroyed. That was his life. How could he let the power exchanged from 8 years of martial cultivation be taken away by someone just like that? However, not only did his yell not reduce the speed of the dagger's descent, it even increased the goatee male's determination in destroying Chu Guyu's cultivation. The cold glare flashed past, and blood sputtered from Chu Guyu's body. The dagger deeply stabbed into Chu Guyu's dantian. At that instant, Chu Guyu's face was deathly white like paper. The piercing pain in his dantian caused his entire body to tremble, but he did not wail. His eyes were just widened into a circle as he stared at his own dantian without looking away. He personally saw the spiritual energy that he accumulated for 8 years quickly flow away, until all of it left his body. Ah, tilde, I'll kill you. Suddenly, Chu Guyu loudly yelled, and like a fierce tiger that exploded, he stood up with endless fury and leaped towards the goatee male. Asterisk bang asterisk, however, how could he, who lost his cultivation, defeat the goatee male? With a casual raise of his foot, he kicked Chu Guyu away like a sandbag, and he ferociously collided at the tavern's wall. When he landed, Chu Guyu sprayed out a mouthful of blood. Innumerable bones were broken from that. But even so, Chu Guyu still climbed up with everything he had, and fiercely stared at the nearby goatee male. But it did nothing, as he did not have any strength. He didn't even have any strength to stand back up. Pretty much his entire body was shattered and crippled. From now on, you will be a diseased dog, and you can only forever climb in front of me. Ha ha ha. The goatee male looked at Chu Guyu madly with laughter, and his laughter was abnormally happy. As they faced that scene, the group of dog legs behind him also laughed, but their hearts couldn't help but tremble because the goatee male's methods were too cruel. Truly, those who offended him were better off dead than alive. At the same time that the goatee male was abusing Chu Guyu, a white-headed eagle descended from the sky and neared the small tavern. The person who sat on the white-headed eagle was none other than Chu Feng. The current Chu Feng already extended his spirit power to the maximum, and that made his hearing power very sensitive as well. So when he heard a miserable cry, his face couldn't help but greatly change. He jumped off from the white-headed eagle, and with the imperial sky technique, he quickly rushed into the little tavern because he heard the miserable cry. He could tell that the cry was his elder brother's, Chu Guyu's voice. Boom! Chu Feng rushed into the tavern like lightning, and when he entered, he also brought along strong wind. When the wind rushed in, instantly, the tavern was stirred into a mess. Even the Lingyan school disciples in the tavern rolled around on the floor by the wind. Brother, after entering the tavern, Chu Feng's gaze was immediately locked onto Chu Guyu's body. As he looked at him, who laid on the floor with injuries everywhere on his body, Chu Feng's heart almost jumped out, and he quickly went forward to prop him up. Brother. Chu Guyu lost his cultivation, so he was in extreme pain, but Chu Feng's voice woke him up. When he raised his head and discovered that Chu Feng was right in front of him, he was even more shocked. However, when he swept with his gaze towards the goatee male and the others who climbed back up behind Chu Feng, he pushed Chu Feng away and loudly said, "Run, brother, run. Brother, this person wouldn't be your trash younger brother who cultivates in the second-rate school, Chu Feng, right?" The corner of the goatee male's mouth brimmed into a strange and evil smile. At the same time, the dog legs behind him also understood the goatee male's meanings. They already blocked the entrance of the tavern to prevent Chu Feng from escaping. "Zhao Dai, the person who offended you was me. If you have anything, do it towards me. I beg you, please let my younger brother go." When he saw that the goatee male cast his fierce gaze towards Chu Feng, Chu Guyu knew that everything was not going well. He who was supported up by Chu Feng wanted to kneel back down to plead towards the goatee male. However, before even letting Chu Guyu kneel down, a powerful big hand pulled him back up. It was Chu Feng. As Chu Feng supported his elder brother up, his pair of eyes were glaring at the goatee male who was sneering. He coldly asked, "Was it you who did this to my brother?" "That's right, I did it. What do you want to do? You, a mere second-rate school trash, can do what to me?" The goatee male mocked and laughed, but his laughter was unusually sinister. As the goatee male admitted, both of Chu Feng's eyes turned into a blood-red color, and the ice-cold bloodlust that lingered all around his body instantly filled the entire tavern. He fiercely stared at the goatee male, and while gnashing his teeth, he said 8 words, "I will make you wish you were dead." Chu Feng's bloodlust was as bone-piercing as chilly air, and it could take away one's soul. Everyone who was on scene, from outside to inside, were frozen straight to the heart. They quivered from fear and they kept on backing away. Some people's legs even softened and knelt on the ground by that bloodlust. What is happening? This aura scary. Is this boy even a person? Some people trembled as they said those words, and those words were echoed by everyone who were there. They were terrified by that killing intent. They were truly fearful. The fear came from their own hearts. What is there to be afraid of? He is but a trash from a second-rate school. Any one of us can pinch him to death with one finger. Just at that time, the goatee male angrily bellowed. His words did indeed increase quite a bit of confidence towards the dog legs behind him, because they were not aware what lingered around Chu Feng was bloodlust. They only knew that it wasn't pressure, so they could not determine Chu Feng's cultivation. However, subconsciously, they felt that Chu Feng's cultivation would not be too high. At least, he should not have entered the origin realm. So the group of people stabilized their hearts and endured the fear in the hearts. Not only did they no longer back away, they even walked towards Chu Feng with malicious intents. They wanted to finish Chu Feng, who made them uneasy. "Brother, I know you can escape. Run, leave me and run. As long as you live, my Chu family will have hope. You cannot die." Seeing that, Chu Guyu bared the pain in his body and roared at Chu Feng. The reason why he endured the abuse for half a year was because he didn't want his younger brother, Chu Feng, to have anything happen to him. However, at that moment, Chu Feng sent himself here. That made him unceasingly panic because to him, he could be humiliated, his cultivation could be destroyed. But what he could not accept was anything happening to his younger brother. Run, he no longer has that chance. But just at that time, the goatee male suddenly attacked. A strong and powerful fist, with layers of origin power, was thrown towards Chu Feng. When that fist came, 10,000 of Chu Guyu's hopes turned into dust. He felt that his own younger brother was undoubtedly dead. He felt that his Chu family was completely finished. However, in the next second, he was thoroughly shocked. Chu Feng only barely raised his palm, and with a clear bang, he held the goatee male's fist into his hand. After that, his fist was completely crushed into pieces. Following that, Chu Feng waved his arm, and with a tearing sound, the goatee male's entire arm was pulled off. Blood and flesh flew everywhere, and it sprayed into the air. The bloody scene made people frightened and horrified. However, the one who was most scared was none other than the goatee male. He was in incomparable pain. His miserable cries were like wolves, ghosts, and a pig being slaughtered. You. At that instant, the expressions of everyone who was there greatly changed and they were stunned. Although the goatee male wasn't that strong, at least he was in the origin realm. How could his arm forcefully be ripped off by a second-rate school's disciple? But in the next instant, they finally saw Chu Feng's methods. It wasn't Chu Feng's powerful strength. It was the torturing methods that completely surpassed the goatee male's. They saw what true cruelty was. Chu Feng picked up the dagger that the goatee male dropped on the ground and started to cut the flesh away from his body, bit by bit. He was not even finished when eerie bones appeared after he cut his entire body to the point where no flesh was complete. At that moment, the heart-tearing, lung-splitting, miserable cries rose up and down in the tavern. The goatee male painfully wailed as Chu Feng's methods were too much. It was too terrifying. The most terrifying methods were not be killed by people. It was the pain that one felt when they were still awake. Right in front of their eyes, Chu Feng was doing that. As they looked at the goatee male, who was completely bloody everywhere on his body, and other than the head, almost every single part of his body was forcibly cut into a skeleton. The faces of the Lingyun school disciples who looked already greened because they saw what a true demon was. There was already someone who was unable to bear all that, and they turned around to run. However, they were not able to run out of the tavern. Rather, those who dared to go near the entrance of the tavern were instantly turned into a pool of blood as they sprayed all over the entrance. At that instant, blood formed rivers in the entrance of the tavern. Master, please spare us, we were forced. Please spare our lives. At that instant, the people who were still in the tavern did not dare to advance, nor did they dare to retreat. All of them knelt on the ground, and they were almost going to collapse. However, Chu Feng paid no attention to them, and he continued exerting his violence towards the goatee male. At the same time, as he looked at the enemy who he was incomparably fearful towards, before being made into such an unrecognizable state by his younger brother, and as he looked at the people who bullied him many times before kneeling in front of his younger brother, while endlessly begging, Chu Guyu's face was already filled with shock. He finally understood why his younger brother did not have any intentions to retreat earlier. It was because his younger brother already grew up. He was able to easily kill those at the origin realm, and he was so strong that he could protect him, his elder brother. At that instant, tears filled Chu Guyu's face. He cried from being moved. He was not crying because of his pain, nor crying because of his grievances. He was crying because he was emotional. His Chu family finally saw the hope that he was always waiting for. Brother, it's enough. Let them go. Suddenly, Chu Guyu spoke. When he looked at his brother who made his great enemy into that state, his fury already disappeared, and the hatred in his heart already faded away. The kind him could not bear seeing the goatee male tormented like that, even if he injured him to that state. He also felt that the current actions by his younger brother already gave the goatee male a multiplied punishment. Brother, after hearing Chu Guyu's call, Chu Feng's blood-red eyes suddenly glittered. He who was filled by fury before finally came back to his senses. When he looked at his elder brother, who was still bleeding and still enduring pain, Chu Feng didn't bother with the goatee male. He quickly went in front of his elder brother, took out a medicinal pill and stuffed it into Chu Guyu's mouth. Thank you, Brother Guyu. Thank you, Brother Guyu. Seeing that, the ones who were most happy were none other than the people who were still kneeling in the tavern. They first kowtowed at Chu Guyu. Then as they stumbled, they started to run out the tavern. To them at that very instant, the little tavern, the tavern that they knocked their heads on the ground for many times, was just like an arena of carnage. It was so terrifying as it almost killed them. So, when they ran outside, it was as though they returned to the human world. How blessed was that feeling, how peaceful. Asterisk bang 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 asterisk however, just as they thought that they escaped a calamity, with a thought from Chu Feng, they exploded and died like blood-colored fireworks one after the other and became many pools of blood. Brother, it's my fault. I'm useless. If I didn't come late, you wouldn't have. As he hugged Chu Guyu, he looked at his own elder brother's broken legs and pierced dantian. From the corner of Chu Feng's eyes, 2 streams of hot tears rolled down. He knew how important cultivation was to Chu Guyu, and he knew how painful he felt when his cultivation was destroyed. I'm fine, don't worry, only you are my Chu family's hope. Chu Guyu's face was deathly white, but a smile still hung on his face. After speaking those words, he closed his eyes and fainted away. Brother, Chu Feng was very anxious. He kept on shaking Chu Guyu, and he was truly afraid that Chu Guyu would sleep like that and never wake again, and that his closest family member would leave him just like that. Chu Feng, don't panic. Don't forget you are a Grey Cloak World Spiritist. Just at that time, Eggy's voice rang out. Eggy, is there any way to save my elder brother? I can't let him become a cripple. Absolutely not. Chu Feng nervously asked. Although he was a Grey Cloak World Spiritist, the methods he knew were limited. So, he put all his hope onto Eggy. They are only broken bones. With your current methods, it is very easy to fix them. On the other hand, there is quite some difficulty to recover one's cultivation. However, it is not like there isn't any method. However, the chance of success for this is very small. But right now, you can only give it a try. Eggy said, what method? Eggy, quickly say it. Seeing that there was a way, Chu Feng was clearly a bit stirred up because no matter how distant the hope was, it was better than no hope at all. In the Asura world, there is a forbidden spirit formation. It can take away one's cultivation and transfer it to another person. Because this spirit formation is too cruel and the success rate is extremely low, and if it fails, he might not even keep his life. It is forbidden in my Asura world. World spirits are forbidden to pass this formation down to world spiritists. However, this forbidden spirit formation is the only method to help your elder brother recover his cultivation. Luckily, that guy over there hasn't died, yet so his cultivation can be taken. If it succeeds, your elder brother can become a person in the origin realm. However, if it fails, your elder brother will. Eggy explained. Eggy, can this forbidden formation be done after a day? Chu Feng asked. It can, however, if it fails, your elder brother's life would be lost. Are you prepared for that? Eggy responded with a question. I understand my elder brother very well. To him, cultivation is extremely important. If he did not have any cultivation, if he was unable to cultivate, it would be more painful for him to live than to die. I'll make this decision for my elder brother. Since this has to be done, I might as well do it more thoroughly. As Chu Feng looked at the goatee male, resolution emerged into his gaze. At first, Eggy didn't even understand Chu Feng's meaning. However, after Chu Feng brought the goatee male's objects back to the Lingyan school, and when an inner court elder hurriedly rushed towards the tavern, she understood Chu Feng's intentions. Dear, damn, who did this to you? That old man was a Lingyan school's inner court elder, but at the same time, he was the goatee male's grandfather. He was the person who kicked Chu Guyu out of the Lingyan school. At that moment, The goatee male did not die yet. However, he could not even speak. His body already became a skeleton, but the internal organs were still undamaged. However, his appearance was abnormally terrifying. Seeing that his grandson was tortured to that state, the old man was both sorrowful and furious. At the same time that he was devastatingly grieved, he angrily went insane. He swore that if the person who tormented his grandson dared to appear in front of his face, he was absolutely going to cut that person's corpse into 10,000 pieces. Who did it? Get the hell out of here. I will skin you, pull your tendons, and cut your corpse into 10,000 pieces. That old man furiously howled. He emanated the aura of the first level of the profound realm, and it shook the ground to the point where it trembled. How did you know that I will skin you, pull your tendons, and cut your corpse into 10,000 pieces? Just at that moment, like a ghost, Chu Feng stood in front of the old man. At the same time, the strong pressure descended from the skies and forced the old man to kneel on the ground. You, who are you? My Zhao family has no grievances nor hatred towards you, so why did you need to treat my grandson like that? The old man roughly gasped from Chu Feng's pressure. On his face that was previously full of anger, instantly, it was replaced by fear and panic. He knew how strong the young man in front of him was, but he did not know when he made such a big enemy. After hearing the old man's question, Chu Feng only faintly smiled and said, I'm Chu Guyu's younger brother. What, you? At that instant, the old man suddenly understood, and at the same time, he was endlessly shocked. He never would have thought that Chu Guyu, who was so petty in the Lingyun school, had such a strong younger brother, so strong that even he was powerless in front of him. At that moment, the old man's face was like ash. He already gave up on resistance because when he saw the miserable state that his grandson was in as well as the nearby bloodstains, he already knew that this time, he angered a killing star. Begging was useless. The only thing he could do was to wait for death. Chu Feng slowly walked in front of the old man, then looked at the goatee male who was barely living and indifferently said, Remember, in your next life, have better memory. You can touch some people, but those from my Chu family cannot be touched. After speaking, with a thought, 2 rows of blood were released and it sprayed over that land. Several days later, a group of people came into one of the cities in the Azure province. They were a young group. There were males and females, and the oldest were only young adults. Many were still teenagers. They bought a mansion in that place. That mansion was very luxurious. So luxurious that even the local rich families endlessly admired them because they who were viewed as wealthy didn't even have enough money to buy a mansion like that. Chu Guyu laid in a certain room in the mansion. Chu Iwei, Chu Shue, Chu Cheng, Chu Zhen, Chu Wei, and all of the people from the Chu family's young generation were next to his bed. Even Chu Zun and Chu Hongfei were there, pretty much other than Chu Feng. All of the Chu family's young generation who were still alive were there. Currently, they were gathered within that room, and they lingered in front of Chu Guyu's bed. With faces full of worry, they stared at Chu Guyu and silently awaited his awakening. He's awake. He's awake. Suddenly, Chu Shue loudly yelled, and at that instant, everyone was stirred up. Some people even jumped in excitement, and many people went up to call Chu Guyu's name. Chu Wei, Chu Iwei, Chu Shue, you. Why are you here? Where is this place? As he looked at the familiar faces in front of him, Chu Guyu was a bit lost on what he should do. Seeing that, Chu Iwei explained everything to Chu Guyu. It turned out that Chu Feng was afraid that the young generation of the Chu family would be in more danger. So, he told all of them to leave their schools and gather here. He bought the mansion and told them to change their names to live in that place. At that moment, Chu Feng already arranged everything. So, the Chu family's young generation also agreed with Chu Feng's thoughts and agreed to leave their schools. They peacefully remained in that area and concealed their identities. So it's like that. That's fine because this way, we, as a family, can reunite again. After knowing that everything was his own younger brother's arrangements, Chu Guyu felt quite relieved because it proved his younger brother's abilities. He was even more happy when he saw that every single family member was brimming with happy smiles, as if all of them walked out from the pain of losing their families. That proved that his Chu family was very strong. Also, after the current Chu family experienced that change, they did not have barriers between one another like before. They understood the preciousness of family, and from that, they became more close. That was something that he wanted to see. Brother Guyu, you need to get better quickly. We will need to rely on your protection. Chu Iwei giggled and said, "Yeh Guyu, the current Chu family will be managed by you. We will need to rely on you." Chu Wei also happily smiled. After hearing the words of the two people, Chu Guyu was first at a loss. And quickly, the happy face instantly gloomed down as he bitterly smiled and said, "If it was before, indeed, I could rebuild the Chu family along with everyone. But the current me is already a cripple. I can't even use any strength. So don't mention about protecting all of you, and even more, don't mention about managing the Chu family." Brother Guyu, what kind of joke are you making? You became a cripple. Didn't a miracle happen and you became a powerful person in the profound realm? Chu Shwei sweetly smiled and said, "Yeah, Guyu, don't tease us anymore. Everyone knows all about it, he. At the same time, the crowd behind him all laughed, as if from their perspectives, what Chu Guyu just said was truly only a joke. A miracle happened, became a powerful person in the profound realm. Chu Shwei, what are you talking about? What nonsense is everyone talking about? At that instant, Chu Guyu's face changed greatly as he pointed at the crowd and angrily bellowed. From what he saw as a cripple, it was just as though he was being mocked when he was being described by them in such a way. Brother Guyu, you. As she saw that Chu Guyu was actually angrily, Chu Shwei frightenedly backed away and she didn't know what to do. Also, all the Chu family members who were on scene put away their previous smiles and fog filled their heads. Fear even emerged onto their faces. Chu Iwei was the first to react to that, and she lightly smiled at Chu Guyu and said, "Brother Guyu, we know that at the same time that you met the miracle, you also received a rebound. However, Chu Feng said that as long as you peacefully rest for a while, everything will be fine. Right now, you are already an expert of the first level of the profound realm. 2 days ago, when you had a nightmare, the profound power from your body was emanated out. Everyone felt it. If you don't believe me, you can feel your own body for a moment. Yeah, Guyu, we really felt it. On that day, I almost got crushed to death by your pressure." At the same time, Chu Hongfei and the others nodded and agreed. As he looked at the serious expressions of the crowd, although Chu Guyu still had a foggy head, he still went and felt his own body. Although he did not expect anything, his bewildered expression instantly greatly changed, and it was replaced with indescribable shock. Sky flipping and ground turning change happened in his dantian, and it was completely different than what is previously understood. At that very instant, layers of endlessly strong aura kept on overflowing from his dantian and swept throughout his body. That aura was far above spiritual energy, and even origin power was left behind in the dust. It was profound power. He became an expert of the profound realm. Chu Guyu felt as though he was in a dream and felt that it was so inconceivable. Even his body was trembling. Clearly, his cultivation was already destroyed, so how did he so mysteriously become someone in the profound realm? Asterisk whoosh asterisk to confirm his current body, Chu Guyu suddenly leaped off the bed and tapped the feet with his toes. Like an arrow leaving a bow, he shot and flew out like the wind. The lightning-fast speed pretty much made everyone in the room shocked, and following that, mad joy appeared on their faces as they followed out. At that instant, Chu Guyu was standing in the courtyard. As he raised his hands and feet, profound power moved. Suddenly, he threw his fist towards the sky. Strong, profound power condensed into a huge fist and rushed up. I'm really in the profound realm. This isn't a dream, right? After confirming his own strength, although Chu Guyu was extremely joyful, he also had his doubts because he discovered that not only did great change happen to his cultivation, even his broken legs recovered. and it was as if it was even more powerful and agile than before. Brother Guyu, all of this is true. You really became a person in the profound realm. As she saw that, Chu Iwei giggled and said, at the same time, all of the Chu family's young generation couldn't help but cheer. Before, the strongest person in the Chu family was only Chu Yuanba, who was at the first level of the origin realm. Yet at that moment, someone in the first level of the profound realm appeared, and he was even so young. How could they not be happy? Besides, not only did Chu Guyu's cultivation make them happy, other than Chu Guyu, there was even Chu Feng in the Chu family who had terrifying cultivation and was currently building himself up. Also, even they did not need to worry about cultivation anymore, because at that moment, the Chu family could truly not be comparable to the past. No matter how mediocre their talent was, they could have certain achievements. After that, Chu Iwei told Chu Guyu to go into a room by himself. She told him that she didn't know what happened to him, but what Chu Feng said was that Chu Guyu had a miracle, and because of the rebound, he was in a coma and didn't wake up. However, he only needed a period of time to rest, and then he would be healed. Chu Guyu at that moment would be an expert in the first level of the profound realm, and also at that moment, Chu Guyu would be the master of the Chu family. At that instant, Chu Guyu finally understood something. Although it was quite unbelievable, he still guessed that the reason why both of his legs recovered, and he had the cultivation of the first level of the profound realm, was all because it was bestowed by his younger brother, Chu Feng. Chu Iwei, actually, I'm quite curious. What methods did Chu Feng use to make the young generation of my Chu family willing to leave their schools and to all gather here? Chu Guyu curiously asked. He understood the young generation of the Chu family extremely well. He knew that they were not such obedient people, and especially after the extermination of their family and the pain of losing them, they would not become that friendly. They would harbor deep grudges towards Chu Feng, and it would possibly even last forever. Yet now they were able to be so united, and every single person was so happy, as if the future was filled with hope. They didn't even have half a word of hatred towards Chu Feng. Rather, there was even hidden respect from their words. That did not make sense at all, so it meant that Chu Feng must have done something. About that, it could be said that Chu Feng used his strength to convince everyone. Of course, he showed that strength by promising a large amount of cultivating resources to everyone. Oh, that's right. These cultivating resources will need to be handled by you. Every month distribute some to everyone at the same time, because right now, you are the master of my Chu family. As Chu Iwei smiled, she handed a cosmos sack over to Chu Guyu. As he received the cosmos sack, he was even muttering in his heart, how would the cultivating resources be able to turn the Chu family into that state? Heavens, this! After he checked the resources in the cosmos sack, his face instantly changed greatly and he was thoroughly shocked. He discovered with astonishment that there were simply innumerable spiritual medicines in the cosmos sack. Origin medicines were even counted by tens of thousands, and there were even several thousand origin beads as well as many priceless profound medicines. Those resources were truly too terrifying. It was not even imaginable by him before. Everything that happened today shook Chu Guyu's soul again and again. He only calmed down after a good while, and he sighed and said, "What stage has my younger brother grown to?" Today was a grand day for the Azure province's second-rate school, the Azure Dragon School. Almost all of the outer court disciples, inner court disciples, and even core disciples all stopped their cultivation outside and returned to the Azure Dragon School, because on the same day 1 year ago, a nameless young male who just entered the core zone challenged the #1 disciple in the Azure Dragon School, Gong Lu Yun, and also arranged for a life and death battle that was going to happen today. Normally, such a nameless young man would not be seen as important by Gong Lu Yun, nor valued by the elders and disciples from the Azure Dragon School. However, that young man couldn't avoid but be seen as important because he became the direct disciple of the only world spiritist in the Azure Dragon School, Juga Liu Yun. Also, over half a year ago, That young man was able to use the cultivation of the first level of the origin realm to easily kill off an expert of the fifth level of the origin realm. And his name was Chu Feng. If it was said that Chu Feng that year was unknown and was the laughing stock in countless number of people's eyes, then the current Chu Feng already became the genius that no one did not know within several miles of the Azure Dragon School. Almost no one dared to be disrespectful towards him anymore. At that moment, half a year had passed, and no one knew what stage Chu Feng had developed into. However, the one thing that could be confirmed was that the young man who was lowly thought of before was valued by many people now. Some people even felt that the outcome of today's battle was unanticipatable. After all, Gong Luyun said the grand words of, as long as Chu Feng was able to block 3 of his strikes, Chu Feng would be the one who won. Although Gong Luyun was indeed very strong as the #1 disciple in the Azure Dragon School, and he was quite famous within many #1 disciples in various second-rate schools, Chu Feng's methods were very special as well, and his battle powers completely exceeded people's imagination. So, many people felt that if he only needed to block 3 of Gong Luyun's strikes, perhaps Chu Feng really could do it if he gave it his all. All in all, that battle raised the interest of everyone in the Azure Dragon School, and in order to let many more people see that fight, the higher-ups of the Azure Dragon School specially built a huge arena on one of the Azure Dragon School's mountain peaks. The construction of the arena started half a year ago. It was large enough to contain 1 million people, and it was separated into viewing seats for elders, viewing seats for core disciples, viewing seats for inner court disciples, and even viewing seats for outer court disciples. In short, everyone in the Azure Dragon School could comfortably watch the arranged battle. I never would have thought that the arranged battle that seemed insignificant would cause such a sensation. Ho! Looking at my Azure Dragon School's disciples' excited faces, perhaps this arranged battle is a good thing. I do hope so. However, it would not be good if either Gong Luyun or Chu Feng dies. In the critical moments, I believe that Lord School Head will appear. After all, he has hid himself for so many years, and it's time for him to show himself. Also, with the scene today, if things really gets out of control, only he would be able to stabilize it. The Azure Dragon School's 6 protectors sat within the viewing seats for elders. As they looked at the disciples who formed mountains and oceans in the arena while being in high spirits, they were both moved, yet worried. The head of the Azure Dragon School was a mysterious character. Other than them and Zhuge Liuyun, almost no one else knew who the head of the Azure Dragon School was. The authority over the Azure Dragon School was always in their hands. So today, the pressure they received increased by several times as well. My lords, this isn't good. Just at that time, the door to the viewing seats for the elders was suddenly opened by someone. A core disciple hurriedly ran in, and panic was all over his face. Don't panic, what happened? Speak slowly. The 6 protectors were the current people who led the Azure Dragon School, so they were quite calm and experienced in a situation like this. So with a simple sentence, the disciples' anxious emotions were calmed. My lords, school heads and manager elders from many other schools are currently coming towards the Azure Dragon School. That core disciple nervously said, "How many people?" After hearing those words, the 6 protectors also tightly frowned, and they felt that the matter was a bit strange. There are a lot of people. The nearby second-rate schools are coming, and from early estimations, there are at least people from over 20 schools. That disciple replied, "There's something like that. Quickly go." At that instant, the 6 protectors also could no longer remain calm. With the wave of their big sleeves, they quickly hurried towards the entrance of the Azure Dragon School to investigate what was happening. When the 6 protectors arrived at the Azure Dragon School's entrance, they shockingly discovered that there was indeed a huge group of people grandly heading towards the Azure Dragon School. That group of people were absolutely not to be underestimated. They were formed by the heads of over 20 nearby schools, as well as the manager elders and the strongest disciples. There were already dozens of profound realm experts within them. As they saw that formation, even the 6 protectors were frightened. After all, the average strength of the 6 of them was only the 3rd level of the profound realm. If that group of people really had ill intents towards the Azure Dragon School, clearly, they would be defeated. But luckily, after the school heads saw the 6 protectors, they brought smiles onto their faces. That couldn't help but make the 6 protectors calm down, because as they looked at their attitudes, obviously, they were not there to attack the Azure Dragon School. Rather, there seemed to be a good occasion. Later on, the 6 protectors found out that they came for the arranged battle between Gong Luyun and Chu Feng. As for how they got hold of that news, it was because several days ago, all of them received an invitation, and that invitation was sent out by the guest elder of the Azure Dragon School, Zhuge Liuyun. Although it was said like that, the 6 protectors were completely unprepared. However, they could naturally not lock the grand characters outside, so they quickly changed the viewing seats for elders in the arena into viewing seats for guests to welcome them. What is Zhuge Liuyun doing? Without even notifying us, he sent out such invitation with the name of the Azure Dragon School. After arranging the group of people, the old lady within the 6 protectors was a bit angry. Perhaps he was afraid that Gong Luyun would go back on the rules of the arranged battle made back then, so he wanted to invite the people from these schools to witness this battle. After all, no matter how much stronger Zhuge Liuyun gets, he can't get any stronger than the entire Black Tortoise City. After all, behind the Black Tortoise City, there is even a Lin Ran. He's the head manager of the Lin clan in the Qilin Prince's mansion. Another elder smiled and said, "I've already heard of this before. If the selfish old Zhuge Liuyun can do all this for Chu Feng, it could be seen that he treats Chu Feng quite well. However, if a character like Lin Ran protects Gong Luyun no matter what, it would most likely be useless even if Zhuge Liuyun invited some great character from first-rate schools in the Azure province who would dare to offend Lin Ran. Ah, that's true. However, this counts as Zhuge Liuyun giving Chu Feng, his only disciple, a bit of help, right?" After guessing Zhuge Liuyun's intentions, the 6 protectors sighed for Zhuge Liuyun's painstaking efforts. After that, many second-rate school heads, manager elders, and strongest disciples continuously arrived. From more estimations, there were almost 100 second-rate schools who went to watch the arranged battle. So many second-rate schools gathering together was already a hard-to-see occasion. So when all those esteemed big characters came there, naturally, a commotion would be risen in the Azure Dragon School, and all of the disciples from the Azure Dragon School became excited, putting aside whether the arranged battle today was going to be entertaining or not, as so many strong school head-level characters were only there to observe some fight between Azure Dragon School's disciples that already showed the Azure Dragon School's influential power. Naturally, it made them, as the Azure Dragon School's disciple, feel incomparably proud. Isn't that the city lord of the Vermilion Bird City, Su Hen? Even he came. If it was said that the arrival of various schools was already quite unexpected, then the arrival of Su Hen along with a group of powerful people from the Vermilion Bird City was even more unexpected. The Vermilion Bird City was quite well known within first-rate cities, and Su Hen was already a powerful person in the 6th level of the Profound Realm. Within the city, there were also some people in the Profound Realm. That strength really was quite superior to many schools who were on scene. However, the most eye-grabbing appearance in the arranged battle was the army from the Black Tortoise City. Their arrival was completely expected. However, their formation was completely unexpected. The city lord of the Black Tortoise City, Gong Luyun's father, Gong Tianping, was a cultivator in the 7th level of the Profound Realm. Within the many manager elders from the Black Tortoise City, there were 30 that entered the Profound Realm. Even some first-rate schools were inferior to that. So that was why the current Black Tortoise City was publicly recognized as the #1 city within all the Azure province's first-rate cities. This time, the Black Tortoise City pretty much sent out all their powerful people from their city. However, the most shocking thing was that other than the people from the Black Tortoise City, there were also some first-rate school heads behind them as well as some manager elders. They chatted with Gong Tianping as they arrived to the Azure Dragon School. One of the main characters of this arranged battle, Gong Luyun, also had some first-rate school disciples around him. Some chatted and some laughed as they appeared within people's line of sight. The Gong family actually got close to some first-rate school heads. It seems that Chu Feng won't have much luck this time. After the Black Tortoise City people appeared, the various second-rate school heads started to gather together to have discussions. Even they were stunned by the Black Tortoise City's formation, because no matter if it was the Black Tortoise City itself, or those first-rate school, neither one of them could be held back by the Azure Dragon School, let alone all those strong powers gathered together. The distance is too big. Not to mention the powers behind Senior Gong. Just Senior Gong himself is a rare genius. I heard a few days ago, even the #1 disciple from the first-rate school, the Wind Listener School, was even defeated by him. Right now, Senior Gong is already an expert of the 4th level of the Profound Realm, and he is one of the leading characters of the Azure Province's young generation. Really, that is quite exceptional. 1 year ago, Senior Gong just entered the Profound Realm. With the time of 1 year, he actually made breakthroughs for 3 levels and entered the 4th level of the Profound Realm. That rate of improvement is too terrifying. As expected from Senior Gong, his talent is indeed peerless. That poor brat Chu Feng wants to fight against Senior Gong. He doesn't know his limits. It can't be said that way. No matter how you say it, Chu Feng still has extremely good talent. He is a genius that has battle power, which allows him to defeat those who are 4 levels above him. Don't forget that he easily defeated Wu Jiu, who was at the 5th level of the Origin Realm, with his cultivation of the 1st level of the Origin Realm. Besides, it's not like Chu Feng has no background. My Azure Dragon School's Elder's Huge is his master right. HMPH. So what if Chu Feng has Elder's Huge as his master? He thinks that he found someone to rely on just like that. He can do whatever he wished just like that. Know that Senior Gong's foster grandfather is the head manager of the Lin clan of the Qilin Prince's mansion, Lin Ran. That's right. Although Juga Liuyun is indeed quite a character in my Azure Dragon School, when compared to Lord Lin Ran, he isn't even fart. There is no doubt in today's battle, Senior Gong can certainly kill Chu Feng with one slap. After Gong Luyun appeared, the arena was instantly turned into a mess. Everyone sighed in admiration towards Gong Luyun's cultivation and background. And at that instant, some elders and disciples who had expectations towards Chu Feng also lost confidence in him. Auo. Just at that time, a cry suddenly rang out from the sky. Following that, several ear-piercing cries endlessly came from the sky, and it completely reverberated in that place. Change like that made people stunned, and everyone on scene couldn't help but raise their head to look. They wanted to see what was happening, and even though they did not expect much after looking, they were instantly dumbfounded and stupefied by the scene in the sky. In the sunny and clear sky, several hundred silhouettes appeared. They were white-headed eagles that were extremely precious. White-headed eagles' preciousness meant that even first-rate schools only had a dozen or so, and many second-rate schools didn't even have any. Yet at that moment, several hundred appeared, and all of them were priceless, top-quality, white-headed eagles. Naturally, that made people endlessly shocked. Heavens, who are they to show such a grand appearance? Many people involuntarily yelled in surprise. Would it be the people from the Qilin Prince's mansion? After all, Lin Ran is Gong Luyun's foster grandfather, and as his grandfather, naturally he would not ignore Gong Luyun's life and death battle with someone. It isn't. Even if the Qilin Prince's mansion is wealthy, after all, Lin Ran is only the head manager of the Lin clan, and even he cannot gather so many white-headed eagles. What kind of people are coming to the Azure Dragon School? From this grand scene, it would certainly be super huge characters from a super huge power. Is it possible that even the Lingyun school was moved? As they looked at the scene in the air, everyone kept on guessing, yet they could find the answer. They could only keep on staring in the air, while awaiting for the answer to reveal itself. Under the gazes of near 1,000,000 people, a single white-headed eagle that was circling around in the air suddenly descended from the sky. Following that, every single other white-headed eagle dropped down as well, and at the end, landed in the middle of the arena. After those people landed, the originally endlessly shocked crowd even widened their mouths in shock. There were even many people who forgot to breathe. Some people even laid on the floor after being frightened, and their bodies even started to twitch. It was because the people on the several hundred white-headed eagles all had long cloaks with symbols. From their appearances, it was clear that they were world spiritists. There was a good several hundred world spiritists, and gray-colored long cloaks were even on the bodies of 20 of them. They were gray-cloak world spiritists. How rare were world spiritists! Yet several hundred them appeared there. How outstanding were gray-cloak world spiritists! At that moment, only 3 appeared in the Azure province. But at that very instant, at that place, 20 of them appeared. When such people came to that place, undoubtedly, it shook everyone who was there. No matter if they appeared in the second-rate school, the Azure Dragon School, or if they appeared in the Qilin Prince's mansion or the Lingyun School, the same commotion would still have happened. Who are they? They are all world spiritists. There are even people wearing gray-colored cloaks, so are they the legendary gray-cloak world spiritists? Why are there 20? There are 20 gray-cloak world spiritists. A disciple who was slightly knowledgeable yelled out in surprise, and after that, more yells came out. Everyone who was on scene were stunned by the world spiritists who had unknown origins. The 6 protectors of the Azure Dragon School had black lines all over their foreheads, and their hearts were filled with uneasiness. They were extremely afraid that the group of world spiritists came there with malicious intents. If it was said that a single second-rate school could be used by a white-cloak world spiritist, then several first-rate schools could be used by a single gray-cloak world spiritist. What did the current several hundred white-cloak world spiritists and 20 gray-cloak world spiritists represent? Although they were only several hundred people, if they wanted to, they could use the entire Azure province's schools, and they would be able to move an army of several tens of millions, or even several hundred millions. That rallying power was unimaginable. How could the little Azure Dragon School offend such a group of great characters? Not only were the people from the Azure Dragon School uneasily, almost everyone was very uneasy. Even the city lord of the Black Tortoise City, Gong Tianping, and the other first-rate school heads were no exception. All of them were guessing where such a group of big characters came from. Everyone was also guessing why the group of big characters came. Look, the symbol on their chests. They're people from the World Spirit Guild. Suddenly, a first-rate school head cried in surprise. World Spirit Guild, the organization that gathers the most outstanding world spiritists in the 9 provinces, and is the main power in the Spirit Province. Are they really people from the World Spirit Guild? After hearing those words, the people in the guest viewing seats couldn't help but inhale a breath of cool air. On their originally uneasy faces, shock emerged again. What was the World Spirit Guild? Perhaps normal people did not know, but the school heads of the various powers naturally knew. Not only was the World Spirit Guild the overlord power in the Spirit Province, they were also one of the several strongest powers in the entire 9 provinces. Since the strongest world spiritists in the 9 provinces gathered in the World Spirit Guild, strong powers from many places tried their best to befriend the World Spirit Guild. Even the overlord of the 9 provinces, the Jiang dynasty, secretly had dealings with the World Spirit Guild. If it was said that the Lingyun School was the #1 school in the Azure province, when compared to the World Spirit Guild, they weren't even far. The World Spirit Guild was truly a huge monster, and it was one of the biggest powers in the continent. The most shocking thing was, Why did such a group of powerful characters come to the Azure province? Why did they come to the Azure Dragon School? Didn't they look down on the Azure province and felt disdain towards the Azure province? As countless people yelled in surprise, and as they were stared by nearly 1,000,000 gazes, the crowd from the World Spirit Guild stood just like that on the huge stage. Every single person was tightly covered by their World Spirit cloak, and no one could see their appearances clearly. Suddenly, a white-cloaked World Spiritist went a few steps forward and walked in front of all the World Spiritists. In front of the crowd, he slowly raised his hand and took off the hood that covered his face. At that instant, everyone's gazes were tightly staring at him, and even their heartbeats rose up and down according to his movements. They truly wanted to know what kind of face would be under that hood, and what appearance did the character from the World Spirit Guild have. It's him. After the hood was taken off, everyone from the Azure Dragon School couldn't help but yell in surprise because they saw a very familiar face. But compared to the shock and confusion of the disciples and elders, Gong Luyun's expression was quite a bit more wonderful. His eyebrows were tightly frowning, his gaze was tightly locked, his fists were tightly clenched, and his body was trembling. A single word was revealed all over his body: unacceptable. Who is this young man? Under the yells of disbelieving surprise from innumerable people, and under the incomparably shocked gazes of innumerable people, some people who were unclear curiously asked, He's the young man who challenged Gong Luyun 1 year ago. A core disciple of the Azure Dragon School, one of the main characters in today's arranged battle, Chu Feng. What? He's Chu Feng. He became a world spiritist at such an age. Has he even joined the World Spirit Guild at such an age? Is this true or false? You aren't lying to me, right? Wasn't it said that Chu Feng was garbage? How can he have such status? How can he have such background? It won't be wrong. He is the disciple of my Azure Dragon School, Chu Feng, without a doubt. When the name Chu Feng was spread out, the people who never even seen Chu Feng before sank into shock. When another white-cloaked world spiritist walked out, took off his hood, and spoke the following sentences, everyone on scene were shocked once again. 6 protectors, what are you thinking about? Why aren't you quickly welcoming my Azure Dragon School's esteemed guests, friends from the World Spirit Guild? It was Zhuge Liaoyun. The current him also had the symbol for the World Spirit Guild, and very highly. He pointed at the 6 protectors and roared. At that instant, the 6 protectors were already bewildered, even though they controlled the Azure Dragon School. When have they ever seen such a grand formation? They were blankly standing there, and they didn't know what to do. 6 old things, why aren't you quickly welcoming the guests? Seeing that, Zhuge Liaoyun roared again. Yes, sir. This time, the 6 protectors finally reacted, and they did not dare to hesitate anymore. As they ran while stumbling, they grovelingly ran over and respectfully led the World Spirit Guild crowd, as well as Zhuge Liaoyun, to the most optimal guest viewing seats. Even though the faces of the various powerful people from the World Spirit Guild were covered, and people could not see their appearances, from them nodding to the 6 protectors, it could be seen they did not look down on the 6 protectors, and they didn't look down on the Azure Dragon School. Rather, they were quite polite, and they truly came to the Azure Dragon School as a guest. Heavens, they are really the Azure Dragon School's guests. But how could the Azure Dragon School invite such characters over? Did they come for the arranged battle? They came for Chu Feng. Impressive. This is too impressive. Many people said that Chu Feng was trash, yet he already became a world spiritist and even joined into one of the strongest powers in the continent, the World Spirit Guild. Many people said that Chu Feng had no background, but now he moved the overlord power of the Spirit Province over, in front of the World Spirit Guild, not to mention the Black Tortoise City. Even the various first-rate schools, including the Qilin Prince's Mansion, and the Lingyun School would not dare to be too wild. Is this called no background? Is this called no strength? At that instant, people kept on sighing and kept on surprisingly yelling. Many people even started praising without restraint the people who belittled Chu Feng, and felt that he could not win, lowered their heads and did not speak. Especially on the face of the Vermilion Bird City's lord, Chu Feng, there was regret. He hiddenly sighed in his heart. I never would have thought that Chu Feng would be so outstanding. Not only did he become a world spiritist, he even got into a relationship with the overlord of the spirit province, the World Spirit Guild. If I knew that his talent would be so heaven-defying, I really shouldn't have kept little Ru and little Mei away from him. With a heart filled with regret, it made Chu Feng cast his gaze toward the two daughters next to him. Only then did he discover that Su Ro and Su Mei filled their faces with joy, and their smiles they had were called happy. It could be seen that the two of them really had been moved by Chu Feng. At that instant, Chu Feng truly wanted to go over to his two daughters and say, "Chu Feng is a really rare genius, and he also has feelings towards you. He also said that he wanted to marry you too. So you should have more relations with Chu Feng. If he still wants to marry you too and become my Su family's daughter's husband, in the future, my Su family would certainly move up, and my Su family wouldn't be as simple as only being the ruler of the Vermilion Bird City." However, Chu Feng could only think about that, because as long as he remembered when he told his two daughters to stay away and don't interact with Chu Feng anymore at the time when Chu Feng's family was exterminated a few months ago, as well as at the time that Chu Feng most needed help, even he could not do it. At first, he felt that Chu Feng was in danger, so to avoid being dragged down by him, he let his own daughters stay away from Chu Feng. Yet now he discovered that Chu Feng had quite a future. So, in order to let the Su family develop, he wanted his daughters to get closer to Chu Feng. Even he felt that those words were unspeakable. Of course, the reason why he did not say anything was not only completely because he didn't feel good about it. He also suddenly remembered Mr. Greycloak who exterminated the Shangyun family, and remembered the letter that Mr. Greycloak gave him. As he thought of the cruel methods from Mr. Greycloak, he had no choice but to dispel the thoughts of letting his daughters marry Chu Feng. Under the gazes of countless people, and after the big characters from the World Spirit Guild were welcomed to the guest viewing seats, only Chu Feng remained on the huge fighting stage in the middle of the arena. Asterisk whoosh asterisk suddenly, Chu Feng took off his World Spirit white cloak and revealed the clothing for the Azure Dragon School's core disciple. At that instant, Chu Feng seemed abnormally domineering. As he stood on the stage, he was not afraid, and he was not panicking in from the gazes of the crowd. His eyes were like torches, and as he looked around, he loudly said, "1 year ago today, I, Chu Feng, stepped into the Azure Dragon School's core zone for the first time and became a core disciple in the Azure Dragon School. That was a day that I, Chu Feng, felt honored and proud because I proved myself. I proved that I had the qualifications to become a core disciple in the Azure Dragon School. However, also on that day, I was bullied by a disciple. He did whatever he wished without fear, and with the status of being the #1 disciple in the Azure Dragon School, and with the cultivation of the first level of the profound realm, he stamped on us new disciples' dignity and forced us to break apart our alliance. When pressured by him, many people chose to obey. However, I, Chu Feng, was not willing to. Creating alliances is an action allowed by the school. The school head did not restrict it. The elders did not restrict it. On what basis did he, a mere disciple, restrict it on? However, my resistance attracted his retaliation. He ignored the school rules. He ignored the relationship of being from the same school, and he attacked me in front of the crowd of disciples. He, who was 20 years old and had the cultivation of the profound realm, attacked me, who was only 15 years old and had the cultivation of the spirit realm. He forced me to kneel and to beg for forgiveness. He stepped on my dignity and even wanted to take my life. If it wasn't for the assistance of the school's elder Lai, I, Chu Feng, would have already died by his hands. I would have been miserably killed by this disciple who did not care about the laws of the school. However, when he committed such a crime in front of the crowd, no one felt that he was wrong. Rather, they looked at me with gazes of mock. They felt that me, a petty little new disciple, should die as punishment after offending the #1 disciple. They felt that being humiliated was also reasonable. However, I, Chu Feng, was not willing to accept that. If he wasn't older than me, if his time of cultivation wasn't longer than me, my cultivation would not be weaker than him. My strength would not be weaker than him. Why did I need to be humiliated, to be killed, before I even had the time to grow? And everyone felt that I was inferior to him. So, under the taunting gazes of everyone, I challenged the so-called #1 disciple. I wanted him to fight me again 1 year later. At that time, I would cleanse myself of all the humiliations. I would let him know that if I had a certain amount of time, I would certainly not be any weaker than him. As for him, not only did he promise that, he even spoke arrogantly and said that as long as I could take 3 of his strikes, he would kill himself. He would take his own life. Today, 1 year has passed, and it is time to fulfill the arrangement from 1 year ago. I, Chu Feng, am already standing here, the so-called #1 disciple. Where are you? Every single word from Chu Feng was loud and clear, and every single word was like thunder. He reiterated the causes of the battle today, and successfully pointed all the criticisms towards Gong Lu Yun. After knowing the truth, many people admired Chu Feng's courage quite a bit. As he faced the unreasonable strength, he did not lower his head, and he even set an arranged battle to wash away shame. Not just any person dared to do that. At the same time, a huge blow was dealt to Gong Lu Yun image. Although people respected this world's powerful people, they would still dislike people who ignored rules and casually killed those from the same school. HMPH, Chu Feng, those are truly shameless words of boasting. At the same time, an angry bellow also rang out from a certain place in the guests' viewing seats. After that, a body explosively shot out and landed on the fighting stage like a meteorite. The person who stood in front of Chu Feng was none other than Gong Lu Yun. Chu Feng, I, Gong Lu Yun, will not be the same as you to attack with words. Today, I am only here to respect the arranged battle from 1 year ago, and to take care of something that should have been taken care 1 year ago. I'm here to take care of you. But if you're afraid, you can kneel and beg right now. For the sake of the faces of the many esteemed guests right now, I can spare your life. Gong Lu Yun had a tall and straight body, with a handsome yet cold face. He did indeed have the airs of being the #1 disciple, and it caused many females to hiddenly have feelings towards him. Gong Lu Yun, no need to waste any time on useless words. Go ahead and attack. It's only 3 attacks, and see how I, Chu Feng, take them on. Chu Feng lightly smiled and stuck his middle finger up to Gong Lu Yun. Since you want to die so fast today, I'll grant you that wish. Ha! Gong Lu Yun first yelled, and invisible profound power exploded from his body like a volcano. After that, he threw a fist at Chu Feng. The profound power that came from his body became an invisible huge first, and with terrifying might, it flew towards Chu Feng. What a strong method! Such strong, profound power. Gong Lu Yun really entered the 4th level of the profound realm. He's too strong. It seems like the rumor that Gong Lu Yun defeated the #1 disciple from the Wind Listener School was true. If he entered the 4th level of the profound realm at such an age already, how outstanding would he be in the future? Gong Lu Yun completely revealed the cultivation of the 4th level of the profound realm. At the same time that he made many experts sigh in admiration, even more gazes were cast towards Chu Feng. They were all thinking, could such a weak Chu Feng truly block that punch? Profound power lingered, and like a dragon's roar and a tiger's howl, the fist came flying over along with strong wind. As he faced such a powerful fist from Gong Lu Yun, even Chu Feng tightly frowned, and he couldn't help but back 1 step away. He did not dare to underestimate that attack, and he quickly displayed the unique methods for world spiritists by condensing a translucent spirit formation in front of him. Asterisk boom asterisk however, when the profound power fist came flying over, the spirit formation wall that was just condensed out shattered, and it had no way of blocking Gong Lu Yun's fist. Crap, Chu Feng can't block the fist. At that instant, those who had relationships with Chu Feng and hoped that he would win were incomparably frightened, and they deeply broke into cold sweat for Chu Feng, because Gong Luyun's fist was truly strong. After breaking the spirit formation, not only did its power not diminish, it even arrived in front of Chu Feng. At that instant, the experts who saw the situation clearly couldn't avoid but feel some regret. Gong Luyun was truly too strong, and he should not be staying in the Azure Dragon School. Even the #1 disciple in the first-rate school, the Wind Listener School, was defeated by him. Some school heads even sighed and felt that they were inferior when they saw that strength. As for Chu Feng, he was in the spirit realm 1 year ago, and even if he had spirit power, even if he was a world spiritist, even if his talent broke all common sense, what stage could he develop into with only the time of 1 year? How could he block the attack of a powerful person at the 4th level of the profound realm? So many people felt that Chu Feng could not stop that attack. Whoosh. However, when a large portion of the people felt that Chu Feng was undoubtedly dead and felt pity for the rare genius, Chu Feng operated the mysterious technique in his body. Lightning rose from his feet, and as his body floated, he slid to the side like light and dodged Gong Luyun's attack. Look, he dodged it. Chu Feng dodged it. He actually dodged Gong Luyun's attack. Heavens, how is that possible? He is clearly only in the 7th level of the origin realm. So how is it possible that he dodged the attack from a person in the 4th level of the profound realm? Does Chu Feng really defy common sense? Wait. Wasn't Chu Feng only in the spirit realm a year ago? How is he in the 7th level of the origin realm today? Did he make several breakthroughs in 1 year? After seeing that Chu Feng successfully dodged it, many people widened their eyes, opened their mouths, and couldn't help but yell in surprise. HMPH. All of you really find it strange since you find it rare. You only know that Gong Luyun is a genius, but you don't know that Chu Feng is a monster. Remember, exactly 1 year ago, Chu Feng was in the 7th level of the spirit realm. So Chu Feng didn't make several breakthroughs through levels. With 1 year, he jumped over an entire realm. Also, don't feel surprised since he was able to dodge Gong Luyun attack of the 4th level of the profound realm with the cultivation of the 7th level of the origin realm. His battle power is indeed this shocking. Half a year ago, Chu Feng beheaded a person in the 5th level of the origin realm with the cultivation of the 1st level of the origin realm, and he even did it so casually. So this boy's high battle power does completely defy common sense, and it exceeds your imaginations. At the same time, some people who understood the situation better started to proudly announce Chu Feng's overpowering past achievements. After knowing everything, some people even doubted whether it was true or false. However, those who had no suspicions dropped their jaws straight to the ground, and with a face full of shock, they said 5 words, "Is he even a person?" However, Chu Feng didn't even have time to listen to the various cries of surprise from the crowd. At that instant, sweat was everywhere on his forehead, because the fist just now really did not allow for any underestimation. When compared to others, Gong Luyun did indeed have some ability. However, even though the fist just now was quite dangerous, Chu Feng, who successfully dodged it, still smugly smiled and said to Gong Luyun, "There are 2 more strikes. If you can't kill me, your life will have to be thrown away." HMPH. I only used 1/10 of my power for the first attack, and I just wanted to test your capabilities. I won't be merciful for the second fist. As he was being taunted by Chu Feng, Gong Luyun's face slightly changed, and he felt that he had no more face. So he operated the mysterious technique and threw another fist at Chu Feng. Boom. That fist was even quicker than before and stronger than before, no matter if he truly only used 1/10 of his power for his previous strike or not. It had to be admitted that Gong Luyun's second fist was indeed a lot fiercer than the first one. However, after experiencing the power of the first fist, Chu Feng became a lot more careful, and he didn't waste any time to truly block it. At the instant that the second fist came out, he used his spirit power to confirm the direction of the attack. Immediately, he used his bodily martial skill and dodged the attack just as it arrived in front of him. He dodged it. He dodged it again. This is too impressive. He really dodged it. If the first time was luck, then the second time was certainly skill. Chu Feng dodged Gong Luyun's attack again, and everyone made ear-piercing yells of surprise again. It was a lot more exciting than before, because people truly felt speechless towards Chu Feng's talent and strength. They were shocked by his battle power, but compared to the observers who were entertained, the people who were close to Gong Luyun tightly frowned and started to get nervous. The arranged battle of 1 year. Gong Luyun had to kill Chu Feng within 3 strikes, or else he would suicide on scene. Those were the bold words said by himself, so naturally, he could not take them back. Yet right now, after 2 strikes, not only was Chu Feng not dead, he was not even harmed in the slightest. If Chu Feng could not be killed after the 3rd strike by Gong Luyun, the person who had to die was himself. In reality, even Gong Luyun himself tightly frowned. Droplets of sweat as big as beads appeared on his forehead. Actually, he was hesitating how much power he should use to take care of Chu Feng. After all, there was such a difference in cultivation between him and Chu Feng, and he was indeed one of the top-level characters in the young generation in the Azure province. If he had to use his full strength in order to take care of Chu Feng, who was only in the origin realm, even if he won, he would be degraded into a laughing stock. So he did not use his full power before. But now he knew that he could not leave anything with the last fist. He had to use his full power, or else he would truly become a laughing stock. Gong Luyun, it's the last strike. Have you prepared to suicide? As Chu Feng looked at the nearby hole in the fighting stage made by Gong Luyu, he first wiped the cold sweat on his forehead first. Then he formed his hand into a hook and provoked Gong Luyun. Chu Feng, don't be too full of yourself. I'll let you experience my true strength. Die. Whoosh asterisk. Gong Luyun angrily yelled, but he did not immediately attack. He stepped forward, and his entire body disappeared. When he reappeared, he was behind Chu Feng. He tightly clenched his right fist, and on it, radiance appeared. Dense, profound power was quickly surging, and terrifying, profound power gathered on his fist. At that instant, he already threw it towards Chu Feng. The most important thing was that the pressure of the 4th level of the profound realm already locked Chu Feng and sealed his escape. With such a distance, Chu Feng could no longer escape. At that instant, everyone broke into cold sweat for Chu Feng, because under unavoidable situations, no one felt that Chu Feng was able to hold Gong Luyun's fist back. In reality, even Gong Luyun himself felt that. He felt that the reason why Chu Feng was able to dodge his attacks were because his attacks were too simple. If Chu Feng grasped even stronger bodily martial skills, he could indeed dodge that attack. After all, 1 year ago, Chu Feng used the same bodily martial skill to dodge his attack. However, he did not doubt his attacking power at all. So he dared to be sure that as long as Chu Feng was unable to dodge that attack, with his current power, he was absolutely able to take Chu Feng's little life away. So he did not use any martial skills, and for the last strike, he also only punched out. As he saw his fist near Chu Feng more and more, and bit by bit, an expression of fear became even clearer on Chu Feng's face. Gong Luyun's smug smile became wider and wider. However, he did not notice that as his fist was going to land on him, a smirk which showed that his scheme was going to be successful brimmed from the corner of Chu Feng's mouth. Boom asterisk without any more accidents, that strike hit. A boom like thunder exploded, and the oppressive profound power swept everywhere. As Chu Feng was surrounded by profound power, he flew out in a straight line, yet he slowly stopped near the border of the fighting stage. It really hit. Is Chu Feng dead? At that instant, almost everyone who was there couldn't help but stand up and cast their glittering gazes towards Chu Feng, who was enveloped by the white-colored fog which interweaved with profound power. Although a large portion of people felt that Chu Feng already died, they still wanted to see how Chu Feng died, And what kind of destruction was dealt to Chu Feng's body under the might of Gong Luyun's fist? Finally, all the gases dispersed, and Chu Feng's body reappeared within people's line of sight. However, the current Chu Feng did not turn into a pile of meat paste as expected. His body was still completely fine and undamaged, but even so, the current Chu Feng laid on the floor like a dead dog and did not move at all. On any part of his body, he did not emanate any aura at all. Defeated. At the end, Chu Feng was still defeated. Although he was quite strong and he was a rare genius, after all, he has not developed well yet. To be able to tangle around with the current Gong Luyun with his cultivation of the 7th level of the origin realm showed that he was already quite exceptional. But sadly, will such a genius die just like that? The people from the World Spirit Guild doesn't seem to have any movements. Will they truly just allow a world spiritist from their own power be killed by someone just like that? As they saw that, almost everyone felt that Chu Feng already died. They felt that the outcome of the arranged battle was already determined, and even Su Hen, who had hopes towards Chu Feng's side with pity. Su Mei even hugged her own elder sister, and she was endlessly painful. Every single person who heard the painful weeping ached in their hearts. If Su Ro wasn't there to stop her, she would have already ran and rushed out immediately to hug Chu Feng, who was on the fighting stage. After all, in her heart, Chu Feng was the one who she loved. On the other hand, Su Ro, who understood Chu Feng's abilities, lightly frowned as she looked at Chu Feng on the stage and hiddenly cursed in her heart. Damn Chu Feng, what are you doing? If you don't hurry and get back up, little Mei will die from crying for you. However, other than Su Ro, within the million people who were on scene, how many completely understood Chu Feng? How many knew his abilities? In reality, the simple exchange between him and Gong Luyun before already made them unceasingly shocked, and they already felt that Chu Feng was an outstanding genius. So, almost everyone felt that Chu Feng was dead. Even Gong Luyun, who stood on the fighting stage, looked at Chu Feng for a few times, and he also confirmed that Chu Feng breathed no more. So he happily laughed loudly. He spun around and looked around. He clasped his hands towards the people everywhere who formed mountains and oceans, and he said with a loud and clear voice, "Everyone, thank you for coming to this place to witness the battle between me and Chu Feng. However, the result of today's battle exceeded my expectations a bit, yet it was also regretful and dull. At first, for the sake of being from the same school, I, Gong Luyun, did not use my full power. I was intentionally restraining myself for the first 2 fists. I wanted to warn Chu Feng with the pressure of those fists, and I wanted him to back away from the danger and give up the life and death arranged battle with me. Actually, if he was willing to concede, I would have certainly gave him the chance to continue living. However, I could not do anything about Chu Feng as he was stubborn. Not only did he not give up, he even kept on provoking me, and because of the rules set on that day, I had no choice but to finish him off on the 3rd strike. I had no choice but to do it, and they were not actions that I wanted to do. However, I want to tell everyone that I, Gong Luyun, won today's arranged battle. I, Gong Luyun, won." At that instant, the smile on Gong Luyun's face rose to the extreme, so he roared the last 2 sentences abnormally loudly, as if he was displaying the airs of a king. However, after his voice finished resonating, there were no cheers or yells that he expected. Rather, the entire arena was deathly gloomy. That strange atmosphere made him not know what to do, and he was quite puzzled. However, after another voice rang out, instantly, his heartbeat quickened and his face changed greatly. His felt like someone pounded his brain with a huge hammer that weighed 10,000 katas. It truly buzzed, and it was truly like a thunder in a clear sky. "Gong Luyun, 3 strikes has been finished. Kill yourself." A loud and clear voice rang out behind Gong Luyun, and it was like a formless sharp blade that pierced Gong Luyun's heart. With an uneasy mind, Gong Luyun slowly turned his head around. Only then did he discover with astonishment that Chu Feng, who originally did not breathe anymore, was standing on the fighting stage. Not only was he not dead, He was even smiling while looking at him. You faked death." The current Gong Luyun was so angry that his heart could explode. He finally knew why the atmosphere was so strange. It turned out that Chu Feng did not die, and he actually took the 3 fists. He clearly lost the battle, however. He did not discover that. He even made vows and said bold words in front of almost 1,000,000 people as he announced his victory. At that very instant, he could really find an ant's hole and drill into there because he was fooled around with. He was fooled by Chu Feng, and he was completely fooled. He slapped himself in front of his father, in front of his family, in front of his friends, in front of the near 1,000,000 people, and he even slapped himself so loudly and so clearly. He lost all face, and his wiseness was destroyed. All of that was bestowed by Chu Feng. So, in Gong Luyun's current heart, his fury truly rose to the heavens, and he hated himself to be unable to rip Chu Feng's corpse into 10,000 pieces. As he looked at Gong Luyun, who had a green face, who was gnashing his teeth from anger, who had smoke coming out of his 7 facial orifices, Chu Feng chuckled and indifferently said, "Gong Luyun, according to the agreement from 1 year ago, I have already took 3 of your strikes. It's not that I, Chu Feng, have no sympathy, but the words that you said that year were said by yourself. Kill yourself." After Chu Feng spoke, almost everyone's heart violently jumped 2 times. They were thinking, is Gong Luyun really going to suicide? Today, will such an exceptional genius going to suicide in this place? But at the next instant, they discovered that they were wrong. They overrated Gong Luyun. He did not immediately fulfill the bold words he said that year. He only pointed at Chu Feng and fiercely said, "Chu Feng, don't worry. I, Gong Luyun, will pay the price for my own words. However, even if I, Gong Luyun, will die, I will die after you." Asterisk whoosh asterisk. Just as he finished speaking, Gong Luyun leaped forward like an arrow leaving a bow, and with lightning speed, he arrived in front of Chu Feng and threw a punch out. Not only did he not fulfill the promise he made that year, he even attacked Chu Feng again and started to fatally strike. As they looked at Gong Luyun's fatal attacks that were aggressive and full of killing intent, everyone's face greatly changed. However, it was not because of Gong Luyun's breaking his promise. It was because, as Chu Feng faced such a fierce attack, he did not make any move to dodge it. He only blankly stayed there, as though he was silently waiting for Gong Luyun's attack. As he looked at that situation, some people even started to suspect whether Chu Feng was completely frightened by Gong Luyun's strong attack. However, after another second, the people who had suspicions were completely dumbfounded, as Gong Luyun's fist that was several times fiercer than before was going to land on Chu Feng's face. Chu Feng attacked with lightning speed. He also threw out a fist, and he aimed it towards the one Gong Luyun was sending towards Chu Feng. That punch was like a mantis arm trying to stop a chariot. That punch was simply suicidal. From the perspectives of the outsides, Chu Feng could only be completely insane for him to throw such a punch out. However, when the 2 fists collided, and after a boom exploded out, the most unexpected scene happened. From the strong force, Gong Luyun flew out. On the other hand, Chu Feng did not shift for an inch. Chu Feng, who was only at the 7th level of the origin realm, pushed Gong Luyun, who was at the 4th level of the profound realm, away. The fist that seemed to be suicidal, and like a mantis arm blocking a chariot, won. How could the people who saw that scene accept it? At that very instant, at that very place, the shock in people's hearts was indescribable with words, because deep within their hearts, a sentence echoed in their brains. Has Chu Feng's battle power really defied all common sense? However, the current Chu Feng ignored all the stunned gazes. He clenched his fists as he wished to continue, turned his neck around, and moved his body around. Then, after crackling explosive noises rang out from his body, Chu Feng said a sentence that made everyone on scene stupefied. Words that almost scared people to death. "I already knew that you were a person who went back on his words, so I really shouldn't have let you attack me 3 times. Whatever, it's better if I attack myself. I will personally kill you." After speaking those words, Chu Feng already strided forward with huge steps. Under the gazes of innumerable people, he gradually walked towards Gong Lu Yun. At that moment, people were already so shocked that they could not care for themselves. They thought in their hearts, "What? I haven't heard wrong, right? Chu Feng wants to kill Gong Lu Yun with his cultivation of the 7th level of the origin realm." After listening to Chu Feng's words at the same time that they were shocked, they were also filled with doubt. If it was said that Chu Feng was a genius, almost everyone would believe that. They would even believe that Chu Feng was a genius who only appeared once every 1,000 years, because Chu Feng's performances were right in front of their eyes. However, if it was said that Chu Feng wanted to use the cultivation of the 7th level of the origin realm to defeat Gong Lu Yun, who was at the 4th level of the profound realm, that was simply unbelievable. The profound realm was incomparable to the spirit realm or the origin realm. The distance between every single level in the profound realm was huge. So, people felt that if Chu Feng's limit was using the cultivation of the 1st level of the origin realm to kill people in the 5th level of the origin realm, then in the future, when he arrived at the 1st level of the profound realm, he would certainly have no way of killing those in the 5th level of the profound realm. So, almost everyone felt that Chu Feng was a madman speaking his dreams. Many people felt that Chu Feng went insane. "You want to kill me? You?" Gong Lu Yun, who already hated Chu Feng straight to the bones, was so furious that his blood and qi boiled when he heard that Chu Feng was going to personally kill him. So he operated the mysterious technique and charged towards Chu Feng again. This time, he brought the strong might of the 4th level of the profound realm along with him. Even the ground trembled and rumbled, and even the air howled as it was being compressed. He truly, unrestrainedly showed his might. HMPH, good time to come. However, Chu Feng only loudly yelled as he faced Gong Lu Yun's counterattack. He also stepped forward and quickly rushed towards Gong Lu Yun. Asterisk boom 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 asterisk the two of them battled, and fists and kicks turned into afterimages, punching with fists and whipping with legs. Attacks flew everywhere, and origin power and profound power were mixed together. Oppressive ripples kept on going wild like fireworks, and the two of them truly fought into a lump. Heavens! Chu Feng can really use the cultivation of the 7th level of the origin realm to match Gong Lu Yun. My eyes are fine, right? At that instant, many people did not dare to believe the scene in front of their eyes. If it was said that Chu Feng being able to block Gong Lu Yun's attack before meant that his battle power was extraordinary, then currently, the battle between him and Gong Lu Yun was simply defying logic. So, many people were not willing to believe that. They had no way of believing that. And with the difference in quality that was like the difference between the sky and the earth, how could the origin power that could not even be compared to profound power be able to resist against profound and not even be disadvantaged? It did not make sense at all. Some people even suspected that their eyes were a bit broken, and they kept on rubbing them. When those people opened their eyes once again and looked at the fighting stage, they were instantly dumbfounded. They discovered with astonishment that as Chu Feng and Gong Lu Yun were on the fighting stage, origin power suppressed profound power, and as their fists and kicks intersected, Gong Lu Yun was currently retreating while Chu Feng was advancing well. Chu Feng had the advantage. The 4th level of the profound realm is only so-so. It seems that this title of the #1 disciple is a bit empty. Chu Feng used origin power to pressure profound power. He used the origin realm to pressure the profound realm. As he forced Gong Lu Yun to that state, he did not forget to taunt his opponent. "What did you take to gain such strange battle power?" Gong Lu Yun was also abnormally dispirited by Chu Feng. He did not believe it. He did not believe that it was Chu Feng's own strength. He suspected that Chu Feng used some special medicine or some forbidden methods. That's right. What Gong Lu Yun is saying isn't unreasonable. The battle power that Chu Feng has right now does indeed surpass normality. It's very possible that he used some forbidden medicines or some forbidden methods. After Gong Lu Yun spoke, many people started to agree with him. They always felt that Chu Feng's battle power was abnormal, and it just so happened that Gong Luyun gave them a reasonable explanation. Speak, did you use forbidden medicine or forbidden methods unique to world spiritists? In order to defeat me, you dare to use such lowly methods. You are truly despicable and extremely shameless. Seeing that his own guesses gained the agreement from everyone, the shameless Gong Luyun went along with it and loudly yelled. He redirected all the despicableness and shamelessness from him to Chu Feng. HMPH, you really think that everyone in this world is as shameless as you? Time will prove if I, Chu Feng, used any forbidden medicines or forbidden methods. However, your shameless actions of not suiciding after losing has already been witnessed by everyone here. Chu Feng coldly snorted and formlessly he explained himself. Chu Feng is correct. No matter if he took forbidden medicines or used forbidden methods, although his cultivation could greatly increase in a short amount of time, there is a time limit. After that time passes, not only will the gained power be all lost, there will also extremely serious rebounds. Light injuries would be heavy injuries, and heavy injuries would be being crippled and all cultivation lost. If Chu Feng truly used forbidden medicine or forbidden methods sooner or later, he would return to his original form and everything would be revealed. He would not be able to last for a long time. But looking at his confident appearance, did he truly not use any forbidden medicine? And what he relied on was truly his own strength. After hearing Chu Feng's words, everyone felt that it was reasonable as well, and they couldn't help but nod their heads. HMPH, you shameless person who used forbidden medicine, so what? I, Gong Luyun, can still use my own true cultivation to defeat you. Die? In response, Gong Luyun was a bit uneasy, and he suddenly felt that Chu Feng did not use any forbidden medicine after all. So he changed his style, and he no longer fought with his own body's battle power. He displayed a very strong martial skill. After the martial skill was used, the power of profound power was truly displayed, and Chu Feng's physical body had no way of fighting against that. However, Chu Feng was not afraid. He revolved the origin power in his body, and many illusionary palms appeared. Many people's eyes were truly dazzled by that, and they could not figure out which ones were real and which ones were false. Again, he suppressed Gong Luyun. This Chu Feng is really quite strong. It is the first time that I've seen someone use my Azure Dragon School's illusionary palm to this state. As they saw the illusion palms being displayed by Chu Feng, the elders in the Azure Dragon School endlessly praised him. Chu Feng's illusionary palm was extremely profound, and he had already thoroughly comprehended the essence of the martial skill. Even they had no hopes of reaching his state, and they sighed to themselves, showing that they were inferior. It is only a mere rank 3 martial skill. You dare to play around with this in front of me. I'll let you experience the strongest martial skill in my Azure Dragon School. Seeing that he could not match Chu Feng in terms of rank 3 martial skills, Gong Luyun changed his style and used a rank 5 martial skill. He wanted to rely on the strength of the martial skill itself to defeat Chu Feng. It is only a rank 5 martial skill. You think that only you have it. But could Chu Feng possibly be afraid of him? The third style of the 3 thunder styles. Lightning surged out, and it could become anything. Although it was a rank 4 martial skill, no matter if it was form or might, the third style was comparable to rank 5 martial skills. The most important thing was that the so-called strongest martial skill in the Azure Dragon School was forcibly suppressed by Chu Feng's third style of the 3 thunder styles again. Once more, Gong Luyun was extremely dispirited. Chu Feng, you rely on those evil methods to fight against me. Sooner or later, you will bear the consequences. However, you won't need to feel the pain of the rebound. I will finish your life before that happens. For 3 continuous times, Gong Luyun was suppressed by Chu Feng. It made him, who was in the 4th level of the profound realm, him, who defeated the #1 disciple in the first-rate school, the Wind Listener School, have no more face. As anger and fury combined together, He wanted to quickly finish Chu Feng off more and more, so he displayed a bodily martial skill and leaped several thousand meters back. At the same time, his body changed as well, and a burst of extremely strong, profound power was changing his body. Chu Feng, I will let you experience a strong martial skill that you have not seen before. The top-quality martial skill within rank 5 martial skills, 10,000 galloping horses. Asterisk boom asterisk suddenly, within Gong Luyun's body, extremely strong profound power exploded out. There was so much profound power that it almost rose into the air, but then quickly dropped back down. It formed formless waves and they surged. At the end, from formless it formed. It formed into a muscular fine horse. That horse was vivid and lifelike, but both of its eyes were blood red. There was a pointy and sharp horn on its forehead, and it was emanating strong might. That might did not belong to ordinary horses. Even normal monstrous beasts did not have it. The most important thing was that there were several thousand of such terrifying horses. That might truly cause the ground to sway and violently tremble. If the fighting stage wasn't created with special materials, as the horses passed, the ground would have certainly shattered and countless cracks would have appeared. In that instant, even a city could instantly be stamped into nothing by the group of horses. What a strong martial skill this might. It is a rank 6 martial skill. No, it's not a rank 6 martial skill. It's the rank 5 martial skill from the Qilin Prince's mansion, the extremely famous 10,000 galloping horses. It's a martial skill from the Qilin Prince's mansion. The martial skills there are the best of the best, but they never pass it down to outsiders. Yet Gong Luyun learnt it. Your news is truly not too efficient. Right now, Gong Luyun has an extremely outstanding foster grandfather. It's Lord Lin, ran from the head manager of the Lin clan, from the Qilin Prince's mansion. With him, which martial skill can Gong Luyun not learn? So there's actually something like that. So this means that Gong Luyun's background is quite terrifyingly deep. But then, why does such a character need to stay in the Azure Dragon School? The important part is not whether Gong Luyun is able to learn this 10,000 galloping horses or not. The important thing is that Gong Luyun can so perfectly grasp this martial skill, to know that even though this martial skill is strong, the cultivating difficulty is extremely high. This martial skill is too impressive. Normal martial skills can simply not fight against it. How will Chu Feng respond this time? Gong Luyun's 10,000 galloping horses made people endlessly sigh in admiration. At the same time, people also locked their gazes onto Chu Feng. They wanted to see how Chu Feng was going to fight against the martial skill that pressured with might. Such 10,000 galloping horses. Then I, Chu Feng, will use shooting 10,000 horses with arrows. Chu Feng put one leg forward and slightly bent it up, then his other leg backwards and slightly bent it down. He formed a bow in his left hand, and formed an arrow in his right. Then, as his left hand swung, his right hand was like a blade. Countless golden-colored arrows shot towards the galloping horses like a rainstorm. Asterisk whoosh 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 asterisk. Asterisk nay 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 asterisk truly. Not a single arrow that Chu Feng shot was useless. In the instant that the golden-colored arrows shot into the horses with strong might all fell one after the other, and miserable cries rang out. After that, they formed into layers of profound power and disappeared in the sky. The so-called strongest rank 5 martial skill from the Qilin Prince's mansion was so easily defeated by Chu Feng's bow of 100 transformations. Tusk, tusk, tusk. The so-called 10,000 galloping horses is only that. You don't learn the martial skills from your own school, and you had to learn someone else's martial skills. It seems like you truly shame my Azure Dragon School's ancestor. Chu Feng mockingly smiled and said, so that means that what Chu Feng just used was a martial skill from the Azure Dragon School. Strong. Truly strong. Although the might of that martial skill did not seem to be strong, in Chu Feng's hands, it showed exceeding power, and it easily killed off Gong Luyun's 10,000 galloping horses. So like the legend said, no matter how much stronger martial skills are, They must be used by the appropriate person. Even garbage martial skills can be used to display extremely strong power in the hands of experts. Chu Feng's words made everyone think again. Everyone kept on praising Chu Feng. If Chu Feng's battle power was raised by relying on some special method, then the use and comprehension towards martial skills were undoubtedly his own talent and ability. Quite a bit of useless words. People like you can only stay within the Azure Dragon School for your entire life. You will never know what martial skills are truly strong. Today, I will let you broaden your horizons. I will let you experience a martial skill that you have never experienced before. A legendary rank 6 martial skill. Gong Luyun was really forced into anxiety by Chu Feng. He waved his big sleeve, and the air around him quickly flowed and interweaved with the profound power in his body. At that instant, icy cold, bone-piercing gas started to speedily spread. Even the people who were watching the arena felt a bit of the coldness. The cold air lingering on the fighting stage was even more terrifying. Frost had already been condensed out on the stage, and it was currently surrounding and getting closer to Chu Feng. At that instant, the fighting stage was like a land of ice and snow. This bone-piercing coldness, this terrifying might, is this one of the fortification martial skills in the Qilin Prince's mansion, the rank 6 martial skill, Cold Ice Atmosphere. TN. Again, fortification, something means that it is used to fortify their position. In this case, the martial skill only belongs to the prince's mansion, and it is something that no one else has. Rank 6 martial skill. It's a real rank 6 martial skill. This is undoubtedly the might of a true rank 6 martial skill, truly impressive. Gong Luyun actually grasped such a strong martial skill. The might of a rank 5 martial skill and the might of a rank 6 martial skill was completely different. When he used the cold ice atmosphere, everyone in the arena felt a type of pressure. The experts on scene were quite fine, but many of the Azure Dragon School's inner and outer court disciples could not resist that coldness. They had no choice but to quickly leave. Many people even fainted. Your foster grandfather treats you quite well. He even passed the thing that he usually hides to you. As he felt the engulfing cold ice atmosphere, Chu Feng couldn't help but think of the scene in which Lin Ran also used the cold ice atmosphere to attempt to kill him in the Valley of 100 Bends on that day. Lin Ran's cold ice atmosphere was indeed strong, and even if Chu Feng fought against it again right now, he did not dare to fight it directly. However, Gong Luyun's cold ice atmosphere lacked a bit of maturity. At least to Chu Feng, it was not enough to make him afraid of it. HMPH, you do know quite a bit, but from what I see, it seems like your life is over. No matter how much stronger your body is, it will not be able to endure the bone-piercing cold air from my cold ice atmosphere. Everything is finished. Die. Gong Luyun coldly snorted. He had enough of that battle. Even if he could win today's fight, he would have no face when the news of him being forced to that state by someone in the 7th level of the Origin realm got spread out. So he really wanted to quickly finish Chu Feng off, and the cold ice atmosphere was his strongest trump card. Asterisk Sililala asterisk the cold ice atmosphere unexpectedly solidified and formed into several cold air fierce beasts. They bared their teeth, and from all directions they surrounded Chu Feng and attacked. The bone-piercing cold air even condensed frost in the air and cracks even appeared. This is too scary. When the might of a rank 6 martial skill is in Gong Luyun's hands, it displays extreme power. Even we cannot resist against a martial skill like that. This time, it seems like Chu Feng won't have much luck. Indeed, although Chu Feng's talent is quite terrifying and abnormal, and although Chu Feng's battle power is extraordinary, as he faces this rank 6 martial skill, he cannot only rely on battle power and talent to make up for that. Unless Chu Feng also grasps a rank 6 martial skill, he will have no way of holding this cold ice atmosphere back. As the cold ice atmosphere was being moved by Gong Luyun's full force, even many school heads on scene felt the power and pressure. They looked forward whether Chu Feng also grasped a rank 6 martial skill, as well to fight, against Gong Luyun's cold ice atmosphere, especially as Chu Feng created miracles again and again, and as he stunned their souls again and again. Many people did not doubt that Chu Feng grasped a rank 6 martial skill, but what they could confirm was that if Chu Feng did not grasp a rank 6 martial skill, today's arranged battle would truly end, and it would be finished.